Okay. Here we go. Hello, everybody. I am the underscore ida, and this episode. Oh my god, what are we calling this? Super auto PhDs? Then what would I be?
I don't know.
You're like a grad. I don't know. You're a grad student, or like, yeah, I don't know,
Okay,
janitor.
I'm the
Like
Oh, I like being the janitor.
but the
I mean,
janitor's like
like
super
I actually
smart. It's
love
like half
janitors,
payment.
but
Yeah,
they clean all
janitor.
my shit. But
Okay.
as long as we are respectfully a janitor, we're good.
Yeah, and like you guys have respect for me. Like you guys have
We're
respect for
we're
me.
working on it.
Hello, everybody. It is Super Auto Pets version 0.15. And my name is the underscore ida. I have the Super Auto PhDs with me right now, Tracky and I Vertebrate. We are doing a tier list for the current patch. If you're watching this and it's past the 0.15 patch, then you should probably find the most updated patch or stop watching this video. You can find me on twitch.tv/ the underscore ida, and in chat we have our PhDs, usually Tracky and iVertebrate. If you like what you see, please click that subscribe button. It means a lot, and you'll get updates for when we get new patch updates. New videos. Now we're actually just going to be focusing on the free to play animals, and we're gonna
Also
go
known as the real game.
the real
The real
game.
game.
Exactly,
Paying
exactly.
for less game when you get the DLC.
It's true. It's 100% true. Unless you're trying to get those achievements, which, if you're trying to get the 100%, you gotta get it.
Yeah. Let's go.
So we'll start by the levels, aka the little dice, the mini tiers within the tiers. The ant, the cricket, etc. And we're going to compare them to, their tiers are going to be compared to other animals in their same level, So we're not going to compare ants to cows or ants to gorillas or flies to monkeys. Um, what's available at what tier is what we're going to go. So let's start with ant.
Okay. And I'll start this off since I actually wrote in the Discord as an example of the discussions we would go through. And I basically would say that Ant is one of the strongest tier 1 pets. It's basically 4-2 worth of stats. Like it's a 2-1, and then when it dies, it gives another 2-1 to another one of your units, which easily turns the fight in your favor. There's some amount of luck involved in it. Um, like you do not want to have your ant go onto like a horse, for example. But then again, you shouldn't be buying a horse anyways. But if you've got like a fish, an ant going onto a fish is really good because now your fish can kill other fish.
Mm.
Yeah,
Ant
so
is
pardon me. So the main reason that that ant buff is so good is that +1 health at the beginning of the first few rounds, because symmetry is really what defines the draws and wins and losses at the first few rounds. Fish kill fish, crickets kill crickets. If everything's the same, draws happen so often. Being able to get a 2-1's worth of body and then health onto another minion breaks that symmetry and can easily turn a lot of drawn positions into wins. The +2 attack is great, but since most of the equivalents at that level are like 2 health, with the exception of the fish, it plays less of a big deal. So you're really looking at where you want that 1 health to land to take draws and turn them into wins.
Yes, exactly. And then Ant also has an additional upside in that you can later, if you're not going to have it be your level 3, Like if you're not intending to level it up that much, you can just pill it later and it will give the stat buffs to another one of your units. So it's just basically free stats. This is especially useful if you manage to get an ox in tier 3.
I think it
Uh,
may be worth asking for audience the pill is not really well documented in the game how it works because it net costs you 1 gold for this maneuver, but it looks like it should cost 3 gold from the shop. Chachi, do you want to explain what pilling a unit is and why it's useful?
Yes, so a pill will basically cause the unit to faint in the shop. Some animals, or I should say pets, have a effect that happens on faint. Usually this happens during the actual combat between different teams, but you can force it to happen during the buy phase and the shop phase. What this means is the pet is dead for good. Like, you will not be seeing it again. But if you pill an ant, it means that its faint bonus of giving +2/+1 to a unit will happen. So it will just randomly buff one of your units by +2/+1. And I mentioned Ox earlier. Ox has a thing where if a unit in front of it faints, it gets a attack buff and melon armor. So you can actually use pill during the shop phase to buff your Ox as well, which is what helps make Ant really, really good.
nice.
Side of just those first few turns.
So what would we put Ant at? Would it be S tier or A tier? Because I think that's where we're at.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's somewhere in there. I would personally go with S tier. I love the ant, primarily because it has that viability with the pill later on.
Yeah, I would say without a question, it is S tier, with the caveat that there are some roles in the initial shops in the first 2 rounds where you don't really want an ant. If you're pulling like lots of pigs or low health minions, the ant is really not gonna get you there. It's not getting you that improvement with that 1 health and clearing the 2 attack threshold. So sometimes if you get a really bad roll, the ant is kind of a trap, and you should play for value plays for big sells later. But in general, I would say an ant with any reasonably bodied creature is absolutely worth buying.
Nice.
So the creatures you want to buy, you'll buy an ant with them. But if you get really unlucky, and probably don't go with a 3-ant team, instead just like save one of the ants and just buy 2 ants. But yes, S tier.
Okay. Well, next we got the beaver. So when the beaver when you sell the beaver, it gives +1 plus no plus oh plus sorry. I played too much Magic. +2 health or +1 health to 2 creatures. Is that correct, or is it 2?
Yep, it gives 2 random friends +1 health when you sell it.
And I
level
believe
2
it.
+2. Level 3 is +3.
I believe that it does not. You can't roll the same minion twice.
You can't
You cannot roll this. It should always hit separate minions. I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a big.
Well, I think just starting off, I think that it's I don't like this beaver. I think it's a 2/2, so it's like decent, but I think like in the early game selling the beaver, it doesn't like it's just like not worth the risk of it getting onto a crappy unit that you're already gonna sell. Like turn 3 or turn 4. But I'd be interested in hearing the PhD thoughts.
Absolutely correct. It depends on what your board is. If you are invested in some horses and some crickets because you rolled a nice board turn 1, but you also know that that board is not going to hold up past a few more rounds, the beaver does not make sense because buffing these creatures is not going to persist. The advantage is not going to persist into late game. But if you've invested into fish, maybe what is the rock throwing one's name off the top of my head? I cannot remember. Mosquito. Mosquito is also a body that can persist a little longer in the game. The beaver suddenly feels a lot more alive. at the first like 4 rounds of the game, the goal is to fill your board with minions more than anything else. And a 2/2 is right in the middle for combat ability. It can't kill a fish, but it can kill most other things. And then on the upside, when you do recycle it into a better minion, you have odds of improving your board if your board is worth improving. So it is very conditional. If you have a bad board, don't buy it. If you have a strong board, it can get you ahead.
I will say that based on the way I tend to play my games, which I've basically gotten probably like 60% of animals medaled. Like I've gotten them all to level 3. So I got all the achievements there, and I've got like over like 60% of them have medals, meaning you get 10 wins while they're at level 3. Generally, I think the best strategy to get to that is to very early on level up one of your tier 1 animals to level 3. This will allow you to enable a Bison later on, which I will go on to later say Bison's one of the best units in the game. Beaver, you're not really getting the benefit of that, though, if you're leveling it up, because like its goal is to be sold. So Beaver, I think, is best as just like you need a filler unit, buy one of them with the expectation that you sell it later. Don't expect it to be the one you keep around.
A motif in this game will be the concept of having a open slot on your team. You have, a fixed number of creatures, but often in order to manipulate your team, you need to have one slot, which is not a creature you're married to. So in the shop phase, you'll be making purchases, moving things around, and often you'll want to end on a creature. So easily in the first 5 turns, it's a reasonable argument to end on a Beaver. It is not amazing, but it does provide a body. It does provide some scaling in the health department. So it is worth a consideration. But yeah, leveling it up, like Chachi said, not worth it. And you're not going to see many wins with Beaver in your roster, but you might see a lot of wins graced by a Beaver in the early game.
So are we feeling like a B or C level? Because that's the kind of vibe I'm feeling from you guys.
I think B is fairly reasonable. It's like a low B.
Personally, I put it in high C, but I can also reasonably see a low B. Like, I've bought Beavers plenty of times. I've never been, like, ecstatic about it. Personally, I would put it as, like, I would say, like, the 6th best of the tier 1s in the free version. But, yeah, I'll buy it.
What we'll do is we'll put it for B right now, and before we move on to the tier 2 animals, minions, creatures, units, we can kind of adjust from there. But next we got the cricket. Cricket is a 1/2 that when it faints, it poops out a 1/1 zombie cricket. I think that here's my opinion on this. I think this is a scam pet that you think is always going to do more than what it actually does.
So the best way to think about a cricket in the early game is just consider its stats as a 2/2. Because it gives an extra power basically with the so it starts as a 1/2 and then it creates a 1/1. So it's basically dealing 2 damage. But that 1/1 isn't going to do much. So a cricket will trade with a Beaver. Crickets, though, I do think they have a place in the early game because they're good against ants. Is the main reason. They will trade with an ant and leave a 1/1 behind. That 1/1 will then deal damage to the unit, perhaps even the unit that just got buffed by the ant, which can basically undo the benefits of the ant. It also trades well with pigs and horses, although I don't think pigs and horses you should really care too much about. And they're also good with the horse itself. Like, even though I don't think the horse is great, having a horse and like 2 crickets will generally win you the early rounds.
Yeah, so cricket is really another creature which requires some evaluation. It does not just have apparent raw power. We can say buy this always. So obviously, we're going to come to horse, but horses are not recommended. But a cricket horse roll is extremely powerful. For the early game, will definitely get you a trophy. Crickets also can be used for useful maneuvers with the melon ball, melon armor ox, right? Because you can pill your cricket, get that trigger, and then actually sell the token to then get that one coin back. So it has roles. Being anti-and strategy makes it like a very reasonable purchase on turn 1 or turn 2. But there's just no reason to scale it, no reason to level up. It just has very little persistent value.
I think what we're getting at though is ant is usually only good when it
Cricket, you mean?
or sorry, cricket. Yeah, sorry. Cricket is really only good if there's like very situational. Like raw dog buying an ant or a cricket is bad. It needs to be paired with a horse, or you're buying it or selling it because you have a plan in the future. But it I mean, it doesn't like do enough. And I don't know, because I feel like I kind of disagree with what Tracky was saying, in that it trades with an ant, but that ant gives 2 power, 1 toughness to a random creature behind it. But I just feel like you lose in that trade. Like sometimes you break
Statistically,
even.
yes.
Sometimes you break even, but majority of the time you lose. And I'm thinking cricket, a C or a D tier pet, maybe C.
Now, here I actually disagree with that because I would generally rather take a cricket over a beaver in most cases. Especially because I think a leveled up, if you manage to get a cricket to level 2, you generally don't want to go up into level 3, but sometimes you'll get into level 2 just so you can get the tier 3 pet when you're in the tier 2 rounds. I would much rather have that level 2 cricket than I would a level 2 beaver. And as I said, cricket, it's basically 2-2 worth of stats, which is, again, matching up with the beaver.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, if we're putting beaver in B, then I would put cricket in B above the beaver.
I would put cricket and beaver in the same category, wherever it was, because I'm about equivalently happy to take it in lieu of something I would prefer. I'm not going to re-roll past a cricket. Usually, if I need something, I have the goals. It's just fine. It does its job. It doesn't make me feel like I'm going into the future rounds ahead, but I believe that it holds your position reasonably.
Okay. So we'll put it in front of the beaver in B. So we got ant in S tier, cricket, and beaver in B. So that brings us to the fish.
Actually, next is going to be duck if we're wanting to go alphabetical order. This thing, this is the best I could find, but it's a bit wonky.
What's the next one?
Duck.
Well, that's real quick. Duck sucks. Move on.
Yes, duck used to be one of the best units in the game, and now like that +1 health does absolutely nothing to push you ahead, unlike the +1/+1 boost that it used to have before the latest patch. Mm-hmm. And it just loses you games in the early game. Yeah, duck is like easy D tier.
I'm glad that I think duck. I don't think I've purchased a duck in a really long time.
Yeah, it is not good anymore. Just +1 health. Like, you can basically do the same thing by buying and selling a beaver. Or the beavers are 2/2.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So alphabetically, we got fish. So fish, You don't need to know what the beaver or the duck does because it's worthless. Always avoid it. Now, fish is a 2/3.
Yep, 2/3. That on level up, it gives all your friends +1/+1 when you're going to level 2, and then when you're going to level 3, it gives all your friends +2/+2. Nobody really cares about the level up buff. It's nice, but like the main reason you buy fish is because it's a 2/3, and a 2/3. Those stats will win you games because we just talked about a bunch of units that have 2 power, ant 2 power, cricket basically 2 power, beaver 2 power. That's basically every single unit except for a unit buffed up with a horse or sort of a mosquito as well because it deals 1 damage. So a fish is often a 2-for-1.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not appropriate to turn your nose up at the level up ability of a fish, because if you see multiple
I like
fish,
it, but
if you see multiple fish, you're buying multiple fish because you want multiple 2/3s. When you
Okay, yeah.
ultimately have bodies that have a slightly more persistent value showing up at the dice tier 2 or the dice tier 3,
okay, yeah,
you can actually
the level
convert.
up is nice. I'm just saying, like, if it was a 2/2 with that ability, nobody would care about it. But
Yeah, the 2/3 is the primary value, but what makes it spectacular is that other than having a high probability of bringing you a win in those early turns, is that it actually represents an ability of the second most important part of the game, which is scaling, right? It actually allows you to put stats onto bodies that are going to stay around, and so you invest in them early for early wins, but then they actually increase their value by contributing to wins down the line. So there's just a lot of value at all stages of the game by making an early purchase of multiple fish.
Okay. Well, would you say it is S tier or would it be A tier? Because
easy S tier.
Easy
S tier. It's the best.
It's the best.
If you
tier
roll
1.
3 fish, you're really happy. Like you're winning.
Yeah, well, there is one team composition that manages to beat 3 fish, but for the most part, yes, 3 fish will win you the game.
Horse, cricket beats 3 fish.
I guess there's more. There's also fish double otter as well that can win, but
Well, let's not get too grindy in the details, because I'm sure for a lot of these things, they can, or a lot of these pets, they have their place.
But fish will basically get you there most of the time. Plus, having the most health is actually beneficial going into tier 2 when you are dealing with crabs, which copy the highest health of your copies the health of your highest health unit.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get into crabs a bit later.
Yeah, I don't want crabs, but we'll get into that. Talking about crabs, that's not fun to get. What about horses? Because I think horses.
I think we need to pause real quick and come back to that segue.
What was
talking
the segue?
About crabs?
Yeah, horses. Like
that implies that horses are crabs, which is
carcinogenesis
on many levels.
Oh no! I was talking. I was comparing.
Yeah, carcinization.
I was comparing
everything turns into crabs eventually.
Yeah, everything turns into crabs. So horses are nothing like crabs. Horses are a 2/1 that when you summon a pet or buy a pet, it gets +1/+0 into the end of battle. So if you buy a unit and put it into a new slot, it gets +1. And if you summon a pet in battle, it gets +1 into the end of the battle. I think we've kind of talked about it with the cricket that it in early game it's good if the combo is there, horse cricket or double horse cricket or whatever. But in comparison to all these, I mean, I think
it's extremely unimpressive, and it's a trap in almost all cases. It has 2 kind of usages in my book, which is the ant horse roll, which is nice. and it is a
Cricket.
symmetry breaker in a fish-heavy situation, right? So if we're talking arena mode in the dark, you just don't know what you're going to face. But if you're in a lobby and you played the first round and you have a horse because that's what you had, whatever, you see that someone's leading with a fish, playing a fish with a horse in play will actually allow your fish to trump their fish, and you'll get that 2-for-1 value, and they will not. So it can be a choice, definitely with more information than the arena mode provides. But again, it looks exciting, but attack for attack's sake really does not change early combat math that often.
Yes, and a 2-1 is bad stats because of mosquitoes. A mosquito can snipe the horse, and you're just basically, boom, out of a unit. Which is even a risk for the cricket horse build, because if they just snipe that horse, your cricket horse build is all of a sudden just 2 crickets that aren't getting any buffs, which is not good.
Yeah, I've been there. You're just like, oh great, my horse is usually worthless, and now it is completely worthless. But I would say it's better than duck, and I don't think it's on the same level as the duck in a D. I think horse is a C.
Yeah, I would agree with C. It's not a very high C, I would say.
C
it's
flat.
not fruit. It's no fruit punch, but it's a C.
It's a C. All right. So next is the Mosquito. So Mosquito is a 2-1 or 1-1?
It's a 2-2.
Which is its saving virtue, because the ability on its own is not amazing. But again, there's this theme
Well,
of we're saying
actually,
a 2-2 is a reasonable body, and we like it. And the ability is nice.
And what is the ability?
One random damage. It shoots a rock out there. I don't know why it's a rock in this game. Like mosquitoes and rocks, it's not really a theme, but it can pick off bad builds, basically. If you're lucky enough to pair against someone who's playing something really badly, you can get a ping off, kill one of their creatures. You can turn a fish into a 2-2. Advantage of that. So there's some stuff, but it is ultimately a dice roll when you play it. It's an uncontrolled advantage. So I like it, but I'm not gonna like swear by it, you know?
So I'm going to swear by the Mosquito, because things you said, like, yeah, it can snipe, it can make a fish a 2-2, but in the early game it is kind of random. It's a solid unit in the early game. Like, I would probably say it's like the 4th best unit in the early game to take, but the reason where Mosquito shines is that, as I said earlier, one of the winning strategies is to get a tier 1 to level 3 and then buy a Bison. If you're getting a tier 1 unit to level 3, the one you want most is Mosquito, because Mosquito will scale the best out of any of them, because its ability at level 3 says that it will deal 1 damage to 3 random units. Now, where this is good is when you're getting to the tier 6 units and also the tier 6 foods, which means melon armor. Mosquitoes can pop melon armor, which is a giant game changer in the late game. And that's the reason I think mosquitoes are actually a really good tier 1 unit. They do, on the flip side of that, they do tend to hurt in the mid game, around like the tier 2 through 4 area, because there's a lot of animals with hurt abilities, which say that when this animal is hurt, it gets some kind of bonus. And mosquitoes can accidentally proc those hurt abilities. But I think the fact that Mosquito being good early game, while also being the best tier 1 in the late game, does make them a good unit.
I would say that, yeah, they're promising. There's definitely a lot of potential roles which will make you keep a Mosquito on your board. But as your board starts to fill, if you haven't been able to level your Mosquito, it's one of those things that you're going to be selling first compared to some of the other preferable units.
Yes.
So it definitely has avenues into the long game, which is what Trashy is saying, is there is an ability for this to really develop significant value, especially in the late game. But there is a cost to that in the mid game, and you do have to get these rolls.
So we say Mosquito. I mean, is it A tier? Because it's.
I would personally put it in the A tier.
And I know this might be a little different between Tracky and iVertebrate, but iVertebrate.
I think A is appropriate. I think A will mean different things at different levels, right? I think if we had tons of minions, this would probably lean towards the lower end of A for me personally.
Yeah, I mean,
but yeah, it has promise. My ideal boards are fishes and ants and mosquitoes. There's no question of that, you know.
And the other one that we're going to be talking about soon, which I think is also one of the best ones.
The Otter?
In the tier 1. Yeah. Otter is one that can... So, here. Otter is a 1/2 that, upon buy, you get +1/+1 to a random unit. It can't go on itself. So you need to buy a unit before you can buy an Otter.
And one thing that I think I learned recently, so obviously this might help some people, is that unlike a lot of animals, it's like there's a difference between buy effect and summon effect. So you can buy an Otter with a full board and put it on an Otter, and you still get the bonuses.
Correct.
And generally, you do want to put an Otter on another Otter, because otherwise the Otter might buff the Otter itself. And when you're getting to the point where it's a level 2 Otter or is about to level up, if you buy it but don't stack it on the Otter, then you're missing out on a buff. Because if you buy, so say you got an Otter that's had just 2 Otters in it, then you see another Otter in the shop. If you buy that other Otter in the shop and just put it on your board, it's going to get +1/+1. If you buy that Otter and put it onto the stack of Otters that have 2 Otters in it already, that Otter is going to become a level 2, which means it's going to get +2/+2, so you're getting an extra +1/+1. So
nice.
Generally, you want to stack your Otters. You don't want to buy multiple Otters and have them multiple on the board.
Yeah, so Otter represents kind of an interesting part of Super Auto Pets, which is that stacking minions and not leveling them up is the equivalent of like an apple. You get a bonus to them. Otter is an apple plus. At first, it's a 1/2 and an apple, and then after that, it's a 1/1 apple buff and then a 1/1 apple buff on the Otter stack. So it can represent a lot of long-term value, and since we like scaling, that's great. The only issue is, right, if you've started with a terrible board on turn 1, you don't really want to throw like your Otters onto your horses and your pigs or whatever you have, But
if you get a fish, then it's the same principle as an ant. How the ant will basically make those stalemates become victories. The Otter will also turn those stalemates into victories. Suddenly your 2/3 ant is a 3/4 fish. That means it can kill a fish and another unit, or it can survive like a mosquito hit, another unit, and then another unit. So yeah, it's similar to an ant in that regard.
So is this going to be S tier or is this A tier?
I will say, yeah, A tier. It's not as good as Ant because of the fact that Ant is 2 power while Otter is 1 power, and a 2 power unit is better than a 1 power unit.
2 is always better than 1. What about moving on to Peg? Peg is a 3/1 that when you sell it, instead of getting 1 gold, you get 2 gold.
Oh wait, hold on for the Otter. Actually, we put it behind Mosquito. I'm not sure if iVertebrate agrees, but I don't know.
I think for the sake of time, we should not dicker too much about the order within tier, because honestly, those margins are highly dependent on the state and the roles. Let's just focus on putting them where they go.
Putting them on the...
Okay.
Okay, I like that. I like
And then
that.
maybe at the end, if we, depending on the time we spent, we
we'll
could do
see.
that.
Chachi, I'm gonna
Okay.
die of old age before we get to it.
So the pig, pig 3-1. All right, we already said that. Is pig C or D tier? That's all we really need to talk about.
It's a consolation prize, kind of like C tier. It should be D tier for what it is, but the fact that you can sell it for 2 means that you can undo your mistake slightly.
No. I think pig is D tier. Pig is just absolutely abhorrent. Like, it has no benefit in the early game. The best thing that can be said about it is you get it with a dragon earlier. Actually, I guess the best thing you could say about it is it's better than a duck.
I mean, I would like to. I just like to say that if depending on your build, if you have a dog, it's a buff to a dog, for the price of a pill, I think.
Shrimp plays as well.
Shrimp,
right?
and some other things, but
yeah, so
I digress.
In cell builds, it's fine. Like, if you get a dragon, then
L builds, is that what we call them?
Mm-hmm.
Buy
Oh,
sell.
cell builds. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
buy sell. So you buy a unit, sell it right away.
So we're gonna go to level number 2, and that is crab.
Could we possibly cut for a quick? I need some water.
Yeah.
I didn't bring water with me.
And we will take a quick cut right now. Ba-bam. All right, so we're back from our quick water break. So crab, when you buy it, it copies the health of the healthiest friend, and so when you upgrade it, it also does the same thing. It's a 3x, or is it a 3-1? I'm not quite sure what its health starts out.
It counts as a 3-3, but it's not actually a 3-3 unless it's somehow the highest health unit.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, Tracky, what's your thoughts?
So, crab has its place with buying a cupcake, because cupcake basically temporary stat boost gives +3 health. Crab then can kind of leech off the cupcake you buy, and suddenly it's a lot bigger. Generally, a crab is good if you can get it as at least a 3-6, because a 3-6 tends to be higher stats than everything else in the game. Like, it's higher than an elephant, for example, without the downside of an elephant. If you're getting into like a 3-5 or a 3-4, crab is absolute trash. But if you get 3-6 or higher, it's good.
Okay. So 3-6 higher, good. What are your thoughts, Ivertebrate?
I think it's fine. I rarely buy them these days. But I think context dependent, they're good. So it's up to your decision making skills if they're gonna work for you. But yeah, health is king in the early game. Crabs can generate, some health.
So are we thinking this is a B or a C tier?
I think it's a B. I don't think you keep a crab for very long. It will win you those early rounds, as I said, if you get a 3-6 or higher. And you don't need to get too much investment into it. So it's a solid B. You'll get rid of it later on when there are better things available.
I gotcha. All right, so moving on to Dodo, a once great powerhouse. Dodo at the start of battle gives the friend ahead 50% of its power, then 100 and then 150 to attack. Let's just be honest. Dodo is C or D tier. It's got to be there. I don't know. That's my thought.
If you want to hear all the details about the history of it, you can listen to our podcast, Super Auto Paleontology. We'll talk all about the history of the dodo, but really, it just doesn't hold up anymore. Attack is just not the currency of the early game.
Yeah, and it requires you to scale into the dodo, which you don't want to really scale into the dodo. You want whatever, like, you're buffing to be scaled instead. So
I gotcha.
I put it in low C.
Low C? What about...
Honestly, even worse. Like, let's just put it in D. When have we bought a dodo in the last, 10 games, 20 games?
I mean, if you get it to level 2, then
I'm not
it's
spending 9
fine.
gold for an old division Dodo. Like,
That is
I'm
true.
it's crap.
I'm gonna say, yeah, putting it in D tier. We just, yeah, can't talk about the past. Currently, it is trash. So here's something that I don't buy that often, but I think it has its place. It is the elephant. Before I attack, it deals 1 damage to 1, 2, and 3 creatures behind it. Depends on the level. Um, Honestly, I'm just gonna say straight up, I don't think that most of the hurt creatures are are good. I think it's a
No.
bad combo and a scam.
It's a combo you play for a short amount of time if it falls into your lap and you let it go. The elephant is exciting occasionally if you roll it off a level up, because
Mhm.
it is a 3/5, and a 3/5 is a substantial body in the early game. But
But
you
you
just
don't really want to level up your tier 1 units until you can get a tier 3, so it's just like,
meh, it can happen. Maybe you roll a lot of otters. Who knows? But it's a short-term unit. It may be good, it may be bad, but it's just not with you for the whole game.
And
Gotcha.
honestly, like, the main hurt unit you would have it with tier 2 is Peacock, and I don't think Peacock is worth dealing 1 damage just to gain 2 attack.
That's true. That's true. So, I mean, is it a B or a C grade unit?
Hey, why so high? I'd put it in D.
You'd
Like,
put it at
it
a
is not
D?
good.
Oh, I
Yeah.
put it as C. Like it's not amazing, but it definitely is something to consider as opposed to re-rolling and getting crap. A 3/5 is a body in the first 5 turns that is worth considering the first 6 turns, I guess.
I don't
It's
know. I'd
okay.
rather just re-roll and take my loss and hope to get some level ups, but who knows?
I think that I'm gonna put it as a C. I
I,
think it's better than a dodo, uh, by far.
Mm.
Um, just because it is that 3/5 that you can just put at the back, uh, for a
yeah,
while.
but you
But
don't want your good units at the back. Like,
I mean, yeah, I understand that. I just think that it has some play in it, not a lot though. But you know, we could argue about it forever. But what about
yeah, I'm 50.
flamingo? I gotta
Well,
say,
what's Flamingo
I
do?
I never buy the flamingo. When it dies, the flamingo gives 2 friends behind it, +1/+1, and if you keep it for any longer, uh, I think you're an idiot. But
Yes.
it is good to pill.
Yes. It's good as a pivot unit. If you need a filler, you can buy the Flamingo and pill it the next turn. And it's also good with an Ox, because Ox benefits from you pilling your stuff.
It
But
pulls the same roll as the ant, and it's fine to end on it and freeze a pill in the shop and just like acquiesce the next turn you're spending one of your gold. It has conditions which you would consider it, but no, it's just not worth any further analysis.
I put it in a C, personally.
Well,
Somewhere around there, yeah.
I can dig that. I think that you know, I think that the weakest units in the game are tier 2, or so are the tier 2 units. I don't usually buy any of them, but that's just me. Uh,
Except for the best one.
well, I'm not quite sure what that is, but the next one we'll talk about is the Hedgehog. It is a 3/2. When it faints, um, when it faints, it deals 2 damage, 4 damage, or 6 damage to everyone.
It's a goofy combo card.
It's a
Uh,
meme, but it might be a
it's
good meme.
like
I
when I
don't
get
know.
wrecked in arena by it, I feel super salty, but like sometimes it just does 2 damage to everything, and you're just like, okay, I invested in health because I know how the game works, and now I just win because you just ruined your board. It's just not. not there.
Sometimes it's good, but like it's never so good that I
Nah.
like lose to it. Like I tend to go with scale builds rather than swarm builds. And against swarm builds being ones where if an animal faints, it poops out more animals. Um, against swarm builds,
Just
Hedgehog is
put it
good.
in D. Move
No, I
on.
don't think it's D. I honestly think it's like it's either high C or it's B, low B, in my opinion.
I'm gonna split the difference because yeah, I don't think it's good, but I definitely don't think it's better than crab, and I don't think it's even on the same. I would I would always buy
I
that over the crab, right? I don't think it's. I mean, I'd always
No,
buy the
no,
crab over
crab
it.
is better.
So
I think it's better than elephant and flamingo, though, for sure.
okay, we can put it there. Moving on, we have the Peacock, which is a 1/5. When it is hurt, it gains attack. Now, I always think, or at least when I started playing, I thought this was the jam because you can do the elephant peacock combo, um, but it I honestly I feel like the peacock never pops off at any point.
It's only happy for you if you get those triggers off enemy minions, but what are you doing the first time? Like, what is that one damage killing? It's probably nothing. Or an ant,
Yeah.
and then you're not super happy. The
Mm-hmm.
conditions for a peacock to be exciting are rare. Um, so it's a lot of health. It could make your crab better, but yeah, it's not. It requires like kind of moving heaven and earth to really get the maximum value out. So I don't rate it very highly for sure.
Yeah, I think it's only good if you have a peacock and a meat in the same shot. So you buy a peacock, you put a meat on it, because meat will give it basically extra 5 power with its 5 health. It's
Mhm.
okay in that case, but I do not like the peacock. It's not so bad that I'd put it at D, but I'll put it in like low C.
What about your thoughts, Vertebrate? What?
Sure. I don't know. C and D are really blurry for me here. They're just like it just the margins are pretty fine. The context is gonna really inform the decision making.
I
So
gotcha. I gotcha. Um, so I'm actually kind of interested in wondering what your thoughts on this animal because I never buy this one. And it is the rat. It is a 4/5 that when it faints, it summons a 1/1 dirty rat for the opponent. So when it dies, your opponent gets a 1/1. I believe at one point the dirty rat attacked the opponent. That
Yeah,
it,
but they nerfed it
yeah.
for
I
some
never
reason.
buy
They
it because I
nerfed the
don't know what
worst
it
unit.
does.
So the rat, it's raw stats, but that 1/1 will basic. I feel like 80% of the time I lose whenever I get a rat, and it's because of that 1/1 that's left behind. Because
I,
a lot of the early game is kind of close to stalemates or like parity.
Mm-hmm.
The rat will turn a draw into a loss, and I do not like that.
you also have to consider the psychological toll of losing to that 1/1 rat. Like if
Oh
that's what's
God.
left, you're just your just game is ruined. You just like tilt, you punt, you sell all your animals in rage. Like there's just too much risk involved.
So
D.
I just wouldn't
D.
even put it on the chart. Like I would rather suppress information of the existence of this card.
Okay.
Listen, it's somehow not the worst unit in the game, but it's close to that,
It's
in my
close.
opinion.
Well, then we got the shrimp. Now, shrimp is a 2/3. When a friend is sold, you give a random friend +1 health, or 2 or 3. Once again, this is like most tier 2 units. I rarely buy this thing. I think it's actually kind of out of place with the current setup of tiers. I think maybe it was fine in the past, but now it's just kind of junky. Um, what are all y'all thoughts on this?
I always want a lot from it, and it gives me very little because the concession of having to buy and sell many things in order to get value
Mm-hmm.
is a notable concession. Obviously, if you're really running all these buff units and you're stacking a fish and you're cycling, it feels great. But like this is just not a high probability occurrence, and you are buying the 3/2, which dies to most tier 1 minions. So
2/3, but yeah.
oh yeah. Okay, well, excuse me. I don't like it.
Yeah,
I want a lot from it, but it's never good.
it's not the best circumstance is when you have a dog level up somehow, and even then, it's not very good. Like, yeah, you don't want to be doing buy sell builds so early in the game, because you want to be leveling up your units. So yeah, shrimp, I don't like it.
So probably a D tier.
Yeah, D tier. It's better than the rat, but
A little bit better than the rat.
that's not saying much.
I think this next one is gonna get us out of the C and D tier, but I don't know for sure. Now, Spider, it's a 2/2 that when it dies, you summon a tier 3 pet as a 2/2. And then depending on the level, it upgrades the level, but it's always gonna be a tier 3 pet as a 2/2.
It's an S tier when my opponents have them.
Yeah, it's a thing you could discuss for the end. All the possibilities with whales, trying to pill it to maybe roll a cool 3, like a tier 3 unit early, but I consider it a lost slot when I see it in the shop.
Yeah, there's only basically there's 2 units that you get that are not just a 2/2. That's sheep, because sheep can poop out 2 2/2s when it dies, and my opponents without fail somehow have swarm builds that will always get a spider that dies into a sheep. I hate it. Or it can die into a turtle, which also has a benefit beyond just being a 2/2. But anything else, you're just getting a 2/2. So like it's basically just a slight upgrade over a cricket. And if you want a sheep, just buy a sheep. It's just a tier later.
Did you say this was getting us out of the C and D tier? Because that's a telling statement.
I think it's a B tier because I like the randomness. Now after playing the game and having you guys in my chat on twitch.tv/the_ida, and you guys, I've been afraid to buy it, and I've noticed that I have stopped buying it because you can always get into badger territory, where you end up accidentally killing something that you want, and yeah, like you said, it just usually doesn't end. Rarely does it go in your favor, but I would put it as a C, not a D.
It's a C. It's a C, I would say.
High ceiling, filthy floor. It can do things sometimes. I don't know. Someone should do a statistical modeling of what actually a spider can actually do, because it's just chaos.
If you're out there,
I just say wait a tier for a sheep. You don't need the spiders so early.
So we're gonna go on to probably the god tier unit of the game, which I forgot about when I said all tier 2 creatures are bad. It is the Swann. Now,
Swan win.
Swan win. #Swan win.
Yeah, come to the Discord and post the pictures of the games you won with a swan, because that's all the games you're gonna win.
Yep. Yeah. So if you have Discord, which you probably should if you're watching this video, join our Discord. It's linked below. Or if you're ever in chat on my stream, twitch.tv/the_ida, just hit !Discord and it will show up. And we have a little place that we post there. You'll be able to find it if you look. Now Swan, it's I like it. It's a 3/3, so it's probably average on the tier 2s. And at the start of your turn, you gain 1, 2, or 3 gold. Now, if you look at a lot of these tier 2s, you're rarely going to get them to level 3. But the Swan, that's a good level 3 right there.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, by the time you're getting level 3, it's a little late for that getting that return, but it is very exciting nonetheless. But yeah, Swan is actually very concise. It's S tier. It starts with S. It provides long-term advantage. It's a very reasonable body to put stats on because every turn it picks up that gold. Winning runs are usually 14 to 16 rounds. So you're almost getting a whole turn's worth of gold if you hold on to it. It is worth buying. It is worth investing in. Play Swan. You will get a hashtag Swan win.
Yeah, and
Here's my
buy
question.
multiple swans, buy multiple of them as well. Like, just have 2 swans on your team, giving you 2 gold.
My question to the PhDs, from my personal gain is, when I'm playing, I tend to put food on my swans if I don't like, because like right away, if I have the ability to either not buy a unit or buy a food instead of rolling 3 times, just because I know that I'm going to keep my swan. Now, is that good or is that a bad plan?
Absolutely. If you have 3 gold left, rolling 3 times is just it's just a risk where if you have a food that's reasonable, an apple's not really reasonable, but a
A
cupcake
meat
is a great,
is.
a meat is, a
Meat is.
cupcake is a path to a trophy, so absolutely, I think it's worth considering food over re-rolling a bunch of times, Maybe if you have like a lot of level ups, you're trying to get like a fish to level 3 and like a dog, and it's like very exciting. You want to level, maybe, but if you have a Swan, you're committing to a long game, and food on Swan is consistent with the long game plan.
Love it.
And also, Swan is basically necessary if you're ever planning on going food build or buy or sell build. Those builds are basically untenable without a Swan to support them.
Gotcha. All right, the first tier 3 creature. It is a badger. It's a 5/4, and when it faints, it deals 1x, 2x, and 3x attack of its attack to adjacent pets. So if it's in front, it's going to hit the opponents and your next in line. If it's in the back, it will just hit your opponent. So what are your thoughts on this in our first tier 3 animal?
Okay, so we're all agreed we need to put honey on the badger. Honey badger is the only way to play it.
Yeah, Honey Badger is this combination which allows you to turn drawn positions into wins. It's a very reasonable investment. Badger is fine, but I tend to kind of dump that combo once dolphins start showing up because I've
Yeah,
happened to
or
me once.
crocodiles.
Or crocodile, yeah, exactly. It's that if your badger gets killed before combat starts, it attacks the thing in front of you, and so your board self-destructs. So mid-game powerhouse with honey. Otherwise, like I just stick clear of it. It's asking for trouble.
Okay.
Badger can get you those wins in the late game, but it requires your opponents to not be doing a good team.
Oh, nice. So what are we thinking? A or B tier for the
B
badger?
tier.
Yeah,
B for badger.
I put it at the highest B tier unit, so B.
Okay. Well, going next is the blowfish.
Oh, Sand on My Face does raise a good point that it will kill a unit through melon armor if it's level 2 and it has a decent enough attack. So Badger will basically, if you level it up, it will kill anything. It will win you those games as long as they do not snipe the Badger.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense. Sand on My Face. New person in chat. I'm just gonna sit here right now in this YouTube video and plug my Twitch. It is twitch.tv/the_ida. Mainly play Magic the Gathering, but over the last month or so, we've been playing a lot of Super Auto Pets, have community games quite frequently. And right now we're recording our first tier list, our first shot at a tier list.
I'd like to speak directly to your audience real quick. Can
Sure.
someone please post in the comments about how many times Ida just plugged their Twitch channel in like the last 2 minutes? Because we got like twice at the start of tier 3, and now we're like 2 creatures in. There's another plug.
Here's the thing: repetition is power. And
Super auto plugs. This is
super
now where we are.
super instead of super auto PhDs, it's super auto plugs. And talking about plugs, the Blowfish, it is a 3/5. When it's hurt, it deals 2, 4, or 6 damage to a random enemy. Um, I'm just gonna say this. I always buy into the scam, and I know it's a scam because by the time you're tier 3, you're not gonna one shot anything. Even you might not even two shot things. If you're lucky, you'll be able to two shot something, but it's just not there. Um, I personally think this is a scam, and I will always fall for it, especially if I, for some reason, have an elephant, or if I see the elephant Blowfish in one thing, I'll just steer right to it. Ivertebrate, what is your thought on the Blowfish?
I mean, you put your finger on the only redeeming interaction is if you level up some early minions, and you see the elephant Blowfish, and it's real early, that might steal you a trophy,
Mm-hmm.
which is not nothing, but it's just not. It is a trap. It's not going to last you very long. 2 damage does fall off pretty quickly.
I will say, if you do get it as you level up your tier 1 units and the tier 2 turns and get a Blowfish, you take the Blowfish. Like, it's fine in those like tier 2 turns. But yeah, tier 3 and tier 4, it starts to drop off a lot. Do not put garlic armor on your Blowfish. Put meat on it instead. People make the mistake of putting garlic armor on it. Do not do that.
Wait, why are we not putting garlic armor on it?
Because 3 power isn't really enough for the Blowfish. You would rather the Blowfish kills the units rather than just trade with it. So you should put the meat on the Blowfish to give it the damage to push through stronger units.
Okay, that makes sense the way you're saying it. So are we thinking B or C?
I'd put it at high C.
Yeah.
It's fruit punch level.
It's fine. Yeah, C. I think the margins between C and B are kind of fine, or kind of blurry, excuse me, as well. So I C is fine with me.
All right.
Oh, look, it's worse Blowfish.
Worst Blowfish, the Camel, a 2/5. When it's hurt, you give the friend behind 2/1, or sorry, 1/2, 2/4, or 3/6. You know, another scam that I fall for is the Camel Kangaroo combo.
Classic.
Because it just feels great when you have your Kangaroo be super beefy, but then you have the risk of, hey, which one do I buff? Because someone needs to get buffed in this combo, and then none of them really scale to the later end.
The answer is buff the Kangaroo, because the Kangaroo will have more avenues to longer term play. I'm not going to say it's a late game unit, but it has longer sustain.
Kangaroo lasts generally around your tier 5s, I would say.
Okay.
Tier 6 is when it drops off. Yeah, Camel, as I said, I think it's just worse Blowfish. Like, I'd rather have the 2 damage that the Blowfish deals and the extra 1 power rather than the buffs that the Camel gives. Again, put your meat on your camels, though. Do not put garlic armor on it. Not worth it.
I consider cupcaking a Camel if I've got 6 gold and I don't really feel like anything else in the shop's good. I don't want to re-roll. Like, that's an okay thing to end on, cupcake Camel, and then just kind of move on with your life short term. But
yeah, and again, just like Blowfish, if it's your tier 3 unit that you get as a level up in tier 2, sure, take the Camel. The Camel's solid stats, and it can do fine in the tier 2 rounds, but yeah, I think we put it in C.
Putting it at C. Now, the next thing, my favorite, but no longer favorite, is the dog. It is a 2/2 at tier 3. A 2/2 that when you summon a friend, the dog either gets +1 attack or +1 HP at level 1, and then it scales. But at tier 2, at 2-2, I think this is D tier.
I would not say it's D tier, mainly because dog is fine if you get it as that. Like, and actually, it's not just fine; it's good if you get it as that tier 2 level up, or the tier 3 level up in the tier 2 rounds. Then you can scale up the dog at a reasonable pace, and the dog does scale up decently well. It's not nearly as good as it used to be, but it's still good in that point in time. If you are buying it in the tier 3 rounds, its stats are too low and its scaling is too slow. You missed out on 2 rounds of scaling, so it's just not going to get big enough at that case.
I'm gonna have to agree with twitch.tv/swords and statues in chat. Dog is hot trash. D for dog. You have to be willing to take. If you're gonna play dog, you're willing to take some losses, which means you're already doing fairly well, and that doesn't make sense. It's almost like a win more creature. And I just don't like putting my destiny on random chance. If I roll 3 attack on my dog, I'm losing that run. It's not worth it.
And
I think it is C, if only for that point where you get it in the tier 2s. That's all.
I think we're going to go with majority vote, and then it's D. The main reason why I think it's D is because, like we said, it's only good to me if you get it turn 3. If you level up and get it turn 3, the thing about it though is because it's random, it's +1 on either attack or defense. It's kind of harder to scale because sometimes you just get like a lopsided, and no one wants a lopsided thing. We want symmetry. That's
Yeah, you generally want the health buffs because you can use meat to kind of sidestep any lower attack buffs, but you can't really deal with low health at all. So you generally want high health on your dog. But
yeah. Well, on to the next one is the Camel. It is a 2/5. Oh no, sorry. Giraffe. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing.
Long camel. It's a long savannah camel.
And you can't say its name like that. You have to go giraffe.
Giraffe. Hi, vertebrate. You do.
I mean, I have a soft spot for giraffe. But
no, you have to say it. You have to say it.
You have to say it. It's the
I have
best
to say
sounding.
Giraffe. It's a 2/5. End of the turn. Give 1, 2, 3 friends ahead. +1/+1. I vertebrate. I interrupted you while you're not saying giraffe.
Giraffes might be my Achilles heel because I really like them. They present long-term scaling. You know, an apple a turn is certainly something. I love to put it behind a Swan, right? I don't think I'm ever really leveling up a giraffe. A 2/5 is not really amazing. I'm not investing in it, but like I'll end on a giraffe. I might even keep a giraffe for a couple of turns on a Swan to keep it relevant, you know. But it's for making something else better. So you have to have that thing you actually want to be good, and it has to be good enough to justify this 2/5.
Yes. Put a meat on your giraffe because otherwise its stats are not going to get you any kills. But put meat on the giraffe, and it's what I call a pivot unit. So you'll buy it. You don't need to level it up. It does good stuff for your team. And then when it's no longer useful, you get a better scaler like a penguin or a monkey. You just sell the giraffe, and it's like, it did its job.
So are you feeling like a high B or low A?
I'd put it in B.
A low A for me, but again, I have some preferential treatment. But giraffe starts with G, which rhymes with B, so I'm gonna go with B.
I love that.
And it does have the best sound.
It does have the best sound.
And best starts with a B. Oh my gosh. You're through the looking glass.
Wow. The next one is going to be the Kangaroo. It is a 1/2, but when the friend ahead attacks, it gains 2/2 until the end of the turn, or 4/4, or um 6/6. So Kangaroo, I love it because what I like to do is just have a really bad Kangaroo, and then behind a big buffed creature, and hopefully I get like 2 or 3 buffs, or even a summoning creature and get a guaranteed 2 buffs. But honestly, I think there's a conspiracy because you can never get a level 2 Kangaroo. It's just always
true.
stuck at level 1 somehow.
But it does its job fine as a level 1. It's, again, one of those, like, pivot units. It does its job. It doesn't need much investment. It scales with the unit you're actually scaling. And when it's no longer good, which is generally around when Dolphin and Dolphin Parakeet Snipe builds comes in, is when it's no longer good. But when it's no longer good, you just sell it. And you basically spent nothing on it.
Kangaroo is a snowball unit. If you already have a high health, decent minion, Kangaroo is going to work well with it, and it amplifies your build. But yeah, don't invest in it. Don't level it up. It's going to go, but I'm happy to see it. And Kangaroo starts with K, let's rhyme with A, so I'm putting in like A tier, just knowing that you
agree.
don't marry yourself to it.
Don't marry it, but it's good while it lasts. Now, I've seen this in a lot of streamers. Meta is the next animal. A lot of people love it. It is the ox. Now, it starts off as a 1/4, but when a friend ahead faints, you gain melon armor and +2, +4, +6 attack. I think it's worth leveling up to at least a 2, if not a 3. It is the ox.
I'd never leveled it up, but it's 100% one of the best tier 3 units. Pill action gives up permanent melon armor. If you have permanent melon armor, it's a great thing to load buffs onto because that is a body that will persist towards the end of the game. I don't really see those triggers much in the late game, so I don't really put a lot of stock in leveling it up. You're not going to get multiple stacks of melon armor, but it's basically always a 3/4 with melon armor. And it just has a lot of long-term odds for very little effort. It's a great thing to transition out of. Just consider it seriously always.
Yeah, Ox will win you those early rounds for sure. The only time it stops being good is when units get strong enough to basically crack through melon armor and kill through the base damage. And Ox doesn't raise its health, so you need another way to raise its health. Which
Giraffe.
So
Ox is OP, S tier.
S tier. I mean, I would say
put
it's
it as
S tier.
high A, but sure, I'll take S tier.
I think breaking ties. I think S tier is the ox. Next one down the line is the rabbit. So it is a 3/2. When a friend eats shop food, you give it a +1, +2, +3 HP. I have the thing I think about.
It counts itself as well. The rabbit now counts itself.
Oh, so when it. Oh yes. So the rabbit will count itself. If you want to make a very big butt rabbit.
Or if your salads just get unlucky.
Or if you're salads or the other things. The thing about the rabbit, I think that I think a lot of people, including myself, rate it higher than it needs to be, or you can't hold on to the rabbit.
No, you can't hold on to the rabbit. It's another snowball unit that's going to have a short lifetime, right? So you're going to be putting food on units that you plan on having for a while, and just picking up rabbit buffs. It'd be nice to scale up a rabbit. I've definitely had an amusing run where I had 3 rabbits on the board and my salads were just going crazy, but it's another snowball short-term unit. You have to be looking at the rabbit as a way to improve something else, like a swan, right?
Mm-hmm.
But generally, I don't want to be spending food in the early game, except like those food that like is basically equipment, meat and garlic armor. Like I don't really want to buy salads or apples. Like once we get to pears, sure, I'll buy a pear.
Absolutely.
But
Apples never. Pears and salads for me. Salads are a little more situational, right? If you have a lot of stuff you're not married to, but like if you're like a Swan fish stack, you already got a lot of stats there. You know, a salad is starting to look like it's gonna hit somewhere usually. Then you got this rabbit buff. Like you
but
have to
even
kind of do the
then,
math.
even then, I would generally do the rerolls because you're in tier 3. The next tier has Bison, and you want your level 3 before you get Bison, so you're doing the rerolls you can to get that level 3, which food kind of competes with that.
I mean, I disagree just because the odds of you getting a Bison are slim, and
Listen,
I'm a nit in poker. I play conservative and close to the chest, so.
So with the rabbit, are we feeling like a B?
No.
Yeah, low B.
What are
Honestly, I put the rabbit in a D tier, but I'd be fine with it in C.
Well,
I'm not a big fan of it.
I think it amplifies good units, so it's a win more creature. So it's gonna be great there, and if not, it's not something you're buying. So maybe like conditionally, it's a B. Depends how often you're getting in good position.
well, let's split the difference and just make it a C.
Sure.
Okay.
So the next thing is I think that hopefully I'm right, but I'll find out in a few seconds. I think this is the biggest scam of a lifetime, and that is the sheep. It's a 2/2 that will summon 2 2/2s, 4/4s, 6/6s. So it's kind of, when you buy it, it's a 6/6 in a sense, but that is the sheep. So I was keeping kind of track on who was speaking first and who was speaking second, switching it around. So I'm not 100% where we're on. So I'm just gonna say, Tracky, you go. And what are your thoughts on the sheep?
So sheep, I would just not buy it in the tier 3s because there's nothing that really goes well with sheep, and you also run the risk of running into Blowfish or Camel, and you do not want your sheep to run up against a Blowfish and Camel. But sheep starts becoming good when you get to tier 5, when the turkey comes into play, because sheep is basically a guaranteed 2 extra units. So when you got that turkey the turkey parrot build, then the sheep spawns are actually pretty strong units. But you can just buy the sheep then in tier 5 when you know that you have a turkey and a parrot. You don't need to buy it in tier 3 where it's bad.
Like mutton, sheep is pretty bland. It's pretty. It can fill a role. You know, there's fun tricks to do with whales and stuff like that. The reality of the sheep is it's a lobby card. It's great in lobbies where you really know what you're up against. You can say, is a bunch of tutus good or bad? But in the arena, in the dark, it's a liability. I would end on the sheep if there is nothing better, but that goes without saying.
Now, I'm just gonna say, I would give it a D because
No.
okay, where are we thinking?
That was a trickier one.
It has 2 O's. Or wait, no. Sheep has 2 O's in it. That's not true. It has 2 E's in it. E's look like E's. So I'm putting it in a C.
I think either a high C or a low B, just for the swarm build. If you get turkey parrot going, then sheep goes up to like a B.
I just like, but I think
otherwise it's a C.
I think at tier 3, the reason why I think it's bad, and I'll put it on C, but at tier 3, you're never gonna buy this without having other things. It's like a tier 3 that you buy pretty much only at tier 4, or like maybe if you somehow had a horse, dog cricket combo and you want to get rid of your cricket and upgrade your trash build, and you're just laughing away. But I just think like you're never gonna buy this at 3. You're gonna buy it later, and you can't just like invest in like you can't invest in it. You can't beef it up. It's just like a dead animal on your.
Yeah, but the turkey does the investing for you once you get the turkey.
Yeah, so once you get the turkey, then you go back. But we'd be here for hours if we were talking about, what's that aspect of it. So we'll just go on to turtle. I'm gonna.
Hold on. If you want the finer details of all these nuances, Trashy has a solo podcast called Super Auto Purgatory, and they just talk about all of the lines, and you can enjoy that.
Super Auto Purgatory. What was the other one?
Stream.
What was the other one you had?
Paleontology for the history of the Dodo.
Oh my god, that was perfect.
It's a really good joke format, okay? Listen,
I love it.
I was talking with a friend at Starbucks, and we're like, there's got to be a joke in here somewhere, and we just were like, super auto, and we just went through all these variations, so it's a good joke.
I love it. So we'll talk about the thing that I love, and I've recently loved it more than in the past, and that is the turtle. 1-2. When it faints, give 1, 2, or 3 friends behind melon armor. So it's almost always great at 1 for early melon armor. And if for some reason you level it up to a 2, it's just like...
Which is a weird thing to do.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Well, I mean, like, sometimes it's just a extra bonus. Right.
Yeah, unless you're playing the DLC.
It's 6. That's 9 gold to level it up. Okay, it's 6
unless you're playing the
that doesn't
DLC,
just happen.
you do not do this.
I mean, things just happen in my world, and I don't know.
6 gold does not leave your inventory. It doesn't just happen. All right, your finger has to touch at least 2 things. You have to say, "I'm gonna do this."
And yeah. I guess if you were thinking and you were sitting on your feet. Or sorry, sitting on your hands or had your hands on your head and you're thinking about your decisions instead of just going with your gut, then maybe. But
I feel attacked.
No. I'm attacking myself because I will always level up a turtle if it's living around for 2 or 3 turns for some reason. I will level it up. I will even chocolate a turtle.
Yeah, the turtle is for putting melon armor on your swans, your big fish, whatever is like you're planning on keeping for a while. Because a turtle commits a creature to the long game. Because as soon as it's got melon armor, any buff you put on it is just long game oriented. The turtle, I mean, it's a pill creature. It just takes a build from medium.
But it's an S1 because melon armor is S tier. That means turtle, because it's just melon armor, but in the early game and costs 4 gold, is also S tier.
I think it's S tier because it's a sea turtle, and sea turtle starts with S, but it sounds like sea, so this joke confuses me now.
And
it's an S tier.
It is an S tier. Yeah, no, I agree. So
S tier.
Turtles have shells, which starts with S.
Oh. Love it. It is an S tier.
Gotcha.
S tier. Oh, I'm talking about the next one. S tier. Just put it in there. We don't need to talk about it. It's the best unit in the game.
Okay, so we'll just talk about it briefly. It's a Bison. It's a 6/6. At the end of the turn, if there's at least 1 level 3 friend, it gains +2/+2, 4/4, or 6/6. What, I guess, is there a reason to not talk about this, or it's just always something good to have?
It's a reasonably sized unit that can easily have long-term scaling for the rest of the game in any position. It just can define a winning run if you get it in the right conditions.
The majority of my 10-win games are due to Bison. Like, Bison, it appears on my 10-win teams all the time. And basically every 10-win team that also has had no losses, it's a Bison. Bison is God.
Bison?
Yeah, I'm looking at some of Trashy's posts. They look like they're very Bison heavy. I certainly like Bison, but I don't play how Trashy does for the high, like trying to triple early and make it happen. I play a
Sand
little
on my
more
face is correct. You forgot to put snail in S tier.
Oh, the snail. That is true. We skipped
snail's
snail.
terrible if you're as good as me. But if you're on Ida's level, snail is like S tier.
I think for time's sake, we should just say that every snail is a person's solo journey to figure it out, because it has taken more of my life than I wish to give to it. So snail, you can sell it if you lose. So it's a rubber band creature, but you have to freeze it. So you're making your shop smaller for a turn. And so there is an extremely nuanced conversation. See Trashy's podcast for more. It's your journey. Go find the snail that you want in the universe, and just, I don't know, don't put it on the chart. Just
Super
make its own
auto
chart.
purgatory.
Yeah, super auto
When I
purgatory.
play versus, I just end up freezing snails, and then suddenly I have a shop in tier 6 with 5 snails, and I never get to use them. But when it's good, when it's activated, it's the best unit you could possibly buy.
Well, we'll go on to the next unit. Thank you, Santa My Face, in chat. Now, if you're watching this video and you say, I don't see a chat, well, that's because you are not on twitch.tv/the_ida, where we're recording this live. If you wanted to sometimes in the future voice your opinion when we do our next tier list, well, you're going to have to watch the stream and be there when we record it. So we're talking next is Deer. It is a 1/1. When it faints, you summon a 5/5, 10/10, 15/15 bus with splash attack.
I love it.
What is like the lore behind the deer that summons the bus? Does anyone know?
Well, the bus runs over the deer.
That's what
the
I
splash
thought.
Damage, the splashing of the deer just being splattered across the road. It's so good. I love it.
That's honestly what I thought. I thought that the bus hits the deer because that's where most people do. And then also, Swords would like us to plug our Discord again. It is in the YouTube comments. Now, Swords did not watch this whole video, or he would have known that we already plugged our Discord, but please join our Discord, !our Discord, while you're watching the stream, or in the details below. So, iVertebrate, what are your thoughts on the deer?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want more from the deer. Usually, it's really awesome if you get the turkey build rolling. You suddenly got like these 20 buses splashing through. But I've just never been in a situation where it's really ending games for me. I don't know. I don't have enough experience with it because I got burnt early with it, and I just don't like whale combos are cool, but again, I play very conservatively stat scaling long-term builds, and the deer is part of swarm builds, and it's just not my avenue. I don't rate it highly.
Okay, so deer, it's good in swarm builds, as iVertebrate said. I still don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right.
I don't know, dude. I didn't ever say it aloud. Like, iVertebrate. Some people say IV, some people say vertebrate. Like, it's fine.
Your new name is Joey Jojo.
No. My name is Giraffe.
Giraffe.
Giraffe. Yeah, in swarm builds it's good, and where deer shines is generally in swarm builds to counter other swarm builds because of that splash damage. But it can also be used to kill things like kangaroo or snakes. Generally, what you want to do if you do have a deer is you want to put a chili on it, so you're getting the double splash damage of the deer dealing 5 damage to the unit behind, and the bus dealing 5 damage to the unit behind. That will usually be enough to kill a snake or a kangaroo.
Now, I guess my opinion on the deer is that it goes well with a few different things. I don't think it's necessarily good on its own, but it can kind of combo in different directions. And obviously the swarm build, but I think there's some merit in some different weird things that it can get involved, but I don't think it's ever like necessarily that great. I would say it's a B, not good, not great, not good, not bad, not whatever.
You describe it like how I describe white wine, which I would describe as like a high C beverage. So
I think deer is a low B, but I think it's a B mainly based off of its strength in the swarm build, where it is a very key role player.
Well, I always break ties, so that is going to be B tier. Now, we are going to go to the Dolphin. So at the start of the battle, it's 4/6. Start of the battle, deal 5, 10, 15 damage to the lowest health enemy. This is great for sniping a lot of things that are annoying that help out, like scorpions, deers, but not, kangaroos, turkeys. I mean,
Parakeets, or I mean
Yeah,
parrots. They're not
it's a
parakeets.
phenomenal choice in a lobby where you know what's going on. You can really say this is my counter pick to your turkey or whatever. In the dark and an arena, it's not going to make a scratch on high stat minions if someone's kind of going high roll mid range bodies like I prefer to. It doesn't do much of a threat, but combination killer. You know.
And sometimes it will just kill a monkey, and you're just like, well, that was worthless.
Also, that's a crime.
it is a crime. Well, I think we're gonna focus more, even though we're on, tier number 4. Think more about lobbies, or sorry, arena than known
Yeah,
lobbies.
I
For
agree.
this one,
Otherwise, that changes things up drastically.
um, I don't know. I think that the Dolphin is, personally, I think it's B tier, but I mean, I'm not
I would
the
agree with that.
PhDs.
I
think
put it, in the high seas again. Dolphins also live in the sea. That's like my follow-up argument. Um, so I don't know. Just because you just don't know what you're gonna face against, and buying a dolphin into the dark
Is
Yeah,
scary.
is
I
not my
put it in
favorite.
B just because it's again one of those units I call a pivot unit. If you just have 3 gold left over and you're just like, okay, I'll buy a dolphin. Like I have a spawn on my team, I'll buy a dolphin. Whatever, I'll sell it later if I don't manage to level it up like significantly and also get a parrot behind it. But like, you just are fine having it.
All
Now,
right, low B, high C, something like that.
yeah. Now, I hope I don't. I hope I'm not wrong on this, but I probably am. But I love this creature. The next one, it is a hippo. It's a 4/7. When you knock something out, it gains +2/+2, 4, 4, 6, 6. I love creatures that gain health in battle. That's just my thing. Like I just like that it kills swarm things, but also it can do some damage, and come back alive depending on, how, if you beef it up or whatnot. But
It's kind of like the kangaroo and the creature in front of it together. That's kind of my like topological assessment of it. It can certainly win you a lot of games. It's what it does is it eats bad boards, so it's a really easy way to secure wins against terrible boards. The question is like, if it's not, if it dies, or you're not in you're at parity, it's just not gonna generate that advantage. And scaling it's always a gamble, right? Because it's either gonna win you the match or lose you. So high ceiling, high or low floor. But it can totally last the whole game if you really get it big. You get melon armor on it. So it kind of depends what resource you have available to really commit to the hippo. Is kind of my take.
Yeah, I think Hippo very much depends on how many wins you have when you get the Hippo. Because Hippo is in that situation where if you are winning a lot early and you feel like you can end your run around like 11 or 12 before the scaling has started to go off, a lot of players will often be in swarm builds at that point. Hippos are basically the easiest way to kill swarm builds. Like Hippo will just eat their entire board. Um, but if you're in that point where you're dealing with like 50-50 bisons,
mm-hmm.
the hippo is no longer good. So it depends on your wins when you get it.
So I guess on average, let's say if we get a hippo tier like first tier. So 8. Would it be 8 or 9? 9?
It would be turn 8, right? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it 7?
Yeah, it might be. I don't know. So if you get it,
I can do math. Yeah, I think it's 7.
okay.
Turn 7.
So let's
Total
just.
confession, I don't know the splits on level ups. I just kind of get pleasantly surprised when new creatures show up in the shop.
Okay, it's
It's-
I
every
play very
2
symbolically.
turns. It's every 2
I'm not gonna
turns.
remember that.
It's every
2 is
odd.
so
It's
much
every
fun.
odd. Every odd. That's how I see it. But so I mean, if you were to get it kind of early in its fourth round, I guess. I mean, in the fourth when you can buy 4. Oh my god. Okay, repeat. What would we call this? B?
I think it's B.
Yeah.
What we say? What we call it?
B?
B.
Yeah, I think so. I think if I got a hippo early and I had a giraffe, I would put some stats on the hippo and see if it
Yeah.
can get me some points. I mean, the thing about arena is, and we haven't talked about this yet, it's like criminally hard to actually get 10 wins. If you are
disagree, but
criminally hard, okay, hold on. Let me explain this. All right. So you have to face a team on the same turn as you, right? If you're an average player and you're keeping your build in the mean strength level, you have to win basically 10 coin tosses in a row. It's over 1,000 or 1 out of 1,000 or something like that. You have to really get big stats ahead to win. And so Hippo can be that, where you suddenly pick up a couple of trophies. And every time you pick up a trophy, those odds of winning are going up by 50%, like just cutting that 1/2, cutting that coin toss. So Hippo stealing wins for a few games, even if you don't live with it, is can be a big deal. And I think that's why it kind of floats up. I know criminally hard tragedy, not for you. You're an exemplar of the game, but some of us
Not to
have to work
brag.
for a living, you know?
Well, moving on. Parrot, it's a 5/3. End of the turn, it copies the ability from a friend ahead as a level 1, 2, or 3 until the end of the battle. I like this with a small caveat. My caveat is I don't like to level it up. Because
I love to level it up. That's the main reason why Parrot's so good, is because it's the tier 4 that you level up, in which basically it's an improvement upon a tier 6 unit. So you get like a good like tier 5 or tier 6 unit. And because Parrot's tier 4, you can find more Parrots easier, which allows you to level it up sooner than you would, say, a turkey, for example. So you would have a level 2 Parrot and a level 1 turkey based off how that works.
I don't buy parrots. I don't like combos in this game. I like playing stats and getting big, and parrots really just never fit in. For me, they just really don't seem like they're part of it because I'm never invested in the things that work well with the parrots. Like I've seen great turkey builds, so I see there's a high ceiling on them, but I just have to acknowledge the risk is that it is a small body creature late in the game, and if your combo gets disrupted or you're just not in the right matchup, it is just a massive liability and will make you lose. So I don't rate it, but it has extreme utility. So
I rate the Parrot extremely highly. One of the main reasons is because, spoilers ahead, Skunk is one of the best units in the game. Parrot, you double up with a Skunk, you are easily going to win. But Parrot also works well with Turkey. It just works behind like a Dolphin or a Crocodile, those pivot units that you might only keep for a bit. You can keep the Parrot around, and suddenly those pivot units are a lot stronger. It's good with a Rooster. It's good with sheep, deer, basically those swarm build units. So Parrot is really good in swarm builds as well. Basically, I think the way to think of it, it's a tier 4 tiger. Like, it's basically, it's not quite tiger, because tiger does allow for certain units to do a bit better than a parrot. But for a lot of units, parrot is a tiger.
With that comparison, I will play with it slightly more, but I'm very conservative again, and I'm looking at that creature like this could just lose me around very instantly. So I think buyers beware on it that if Trashy's right, it's gonna do a lot for you, but it isn't inherently there is a vulnerability attached to it.
Based off how I play, which is by skunk all the time, I put it at like the highest A tier with Parrot.
Okay. I would say, with everything you've said, I'd have to sit and digest it. But I guess my initial gut reaction is to agree, and I'll put it at an A tier.
Sounds good.
The next thing we got after Parrot is Penguin. It is a 1/2. At the end of turn, give other level 2 and 3 friends +1/+1, 2, 2, 3, 3. My gut feeling on this unit is it is good to buy when you have at minimum 2 level 1 or 2 level 2s, and does not feel good to me at that point. I want it to buff 3 things when I buy it, not 2, and definitely not 1. It's a better Giraffe, but
much later in the game, you wouldn't be buying the Giraffe at that stage of the game.
Yeah.
It depends on the unit, though, that is leveled up. If it's the one you want to scale up, that's a level 2. Penguin's a lot better, and you only really care about the units you want to scale up. It doesn't matter if some random, like, I don't know, Kangaroo gets scaled up by +1/+1.
Yeah, so I really like this. This is my kind of card because I'm playing early game bodies I want to keep forever. My Swans, my Oxes, you know. And if I get a Penguin, you know, I'm pretty happy to start putting stats on these things, however it might go. And it's a great pivot creature to use Trashy's nomenclature. So for me, it's a creature that you end on in your flex slot. It gives this long-term value for scaling, and you're just not sad to part with it as long as you're getting at least 2 triggers. I like to level it up personally. Pretty
level
exciting.
2, it becomes amazing.
Yeah, it can really get going. I've never tried to get it to level 3 because I just usually have better
really
things for
good.
level 3. But yeah, no, it's worth leveling up. I think it's worth playing because it is the currency of the game will be stats for a lot of these builds, and Penguin can really provide.
So
Also, penguins live in the Antarctic, which starts with A.
Which I agree with. They do live in the Antarctic, which also ends with the letter A. So, starts and ends. We'll put it in the A.
All right. So I'm not sure about this, but the Rooster, it's a 5/3. When it faints, it summons 1, 2, or 3 chicks with 1 HP and half the attack. I don't think this.
It's a lobby creature.
I don't think this died as hard as the Dodo, but I think it's close.
I mean, Rooster used to be the best unit in the game. Like, it was the tippy top of S tier. I think it's still good. It requires scaling. Like, you need basically like monkeys and stuff in order to scale up the Rooster. But if you are going late in the game, meaning like it's not good for if you're planning on winning by like turn 11. But if you're planning on winning in like, I don't know, like turn 20 or something, the Rooster becomes incredible.
Who wins on turn 20?
I don't know. Apparently it's a thing based off Reddit posts I've seen. I've never experienced it myself, but...
Reddit. What the fuck?
Well, I think when you're thinking about that might be in the or private games where you have 15 health, and games sometimes.
Oh no, not even that. I'm talking about in arena. Some of the weirdos on arena somehow manage to get like very long games going. I don't know how. Like, if I'm winning on turn like 12 or 13 usually, maybe 11 even, sometimes even 10.
So where would we put the Rooster at?
So it requires getting to level 3. It requires being scaled up. When you meet those conditions, it's one of the best units you can possibly get, because all of a sudden it's basically like it's close to like a 3 for 1, or maybe even a 4 for 1.
Yeah, it's almost especially at level 2. It's almost guaranteed it's a 2-for-1. It can easily do a lot more. Since I'm always playing stat scaling builds already, when I see a rooster and I have the engine already in place, like a monkey or something, I'm very happy to take it. I would put it somewhere in the B utility range, but like
I would
in
agree.
the dark, taking a rooster and hoping that you get there is probably foolish.
Yeah, you do not want to do that, but I think I agree with Ivertebrate that it is a B.
Okay. All right. I will agree with that. Now, we might have to take a little bit of time talking about this one since I actually am probably gonna upset you, Tracky. I have never bought a skunk.
Oh my god,
It's
it's the second
Skunks
best unit
start
in
with
the
S.
game.
It's clear.
it is a 3/6 at the start
Actually,
of
it's the best
battle.
unit of the game.
Reduce HP of the highest enemy by 33, 66, and 99%.
Skunks
So
start with S, and a recurring theme throughout this discussion is that health is one of the currencies of this game. Being able to just like acid strip health off units,
Mm-hmm.
it's
so
just a
statistically,
thing.
one of the ways to think about it is that skunk, level 1 skunk is just fine. Like, generally, though, you want to get it to level 2. It will strip away half the health of their best pet. Now, picture their best pet is a 50-50 with melon armor. You strip away half the health, it's now at 25 health. That means your 50-50 with melon armor will kill their formerly 50-50 with melon armor, since melon armor only protects from 20, which means that it's only got 45 health, basically. It will kill the unit with melon armor and still, like, survive to kill their next unit and maybe even their next unit. Skunk will win you the games easily. And if you get a level 3 skunk, it's basically game over for any opponent you come up against because they're left with 1 health.
I got
Yeah.
you. I see
Skunk
that now.
will basically allow you to beat a better team. The only other unit that I think allows you to beat a better team is the Scorpion. Skunk will just give you victory.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess there's not much to debate. I guess I have to start playing with the skunk more often now.
You definitely need to. It is absurd, especially since like there's nothing your opponent can do. They trying to kill this, like they dolphin the skunk, whatever. The skunk already activated its ability, and again, very good reason to take parrots and tigers. I guess if you don't get parrots, I don't know.
Gotcha.
Usually you should put parrots behind the skunks, and suddenly they got 2 units who have half health. That's like you can't possibly win when like about half your team have half health.
That makes sense. That makes sense. All right. Well, I'll have to go for it, but we got to move on. I know you love this skunk Tracky, but we can't talk about skunks all day. We can talk about another S. So if it starts with an S, it's S tier. Is that what you're saying? So there's the Squirrel. It's a 2/5. At the start of the turn, discount shop food by 1, 2, or 3 gold.
The
Yeah,
wait, also it's not half for skunk; it's a bit more than half. Sorry,
It's all right.
but generally the way.
the squirrel. I have played it exactly once when I had 2 melon armors in the shop frozen for next turn, and I ended on a squirrel because like it basically is just net 3 gold, so it pays for itself, and there wasn't anything better. But
Squirrel, like the food shop only has 2 items, so it's incredibly luck dependent. It could be 2 chocolates, and you're just like, yes, chocolate, the best food in the game, or well, besides melon armor, or it could be 2 apples, and you're just all like, I don't even want to pay 2 gold for an apple. Like, I wouldn't even pay 1 gold for an apple.
Yeah, so I contrary to the it starts with S, it must be S tier. This is definitely a squirrel sucks alliteration moment.
I think it's the worst unit in the game.
Worse than duck?
Worse than duck.
I think.
I think it's worse than duck because you almost consider buying it sometimes, but like it's just
It's
not
worse
good.
than duck because it's a tier 4 unit. Like duck, you might have like a dragon build and suddenly like you're fine buying ducks. Squirrel, you're never fine with buying. Like it's terrible.
I think
They made it better than its old patch version, but it's still terrible.
they
It's still the
didn't buff
worst.
it enough. I think one thing to think about with Squirrel is the main thing is you're committing a slot to it. Um, if you could put it in a sixth slot that didn't attack, that just hung out on the side as like an item, like a belt, sure,
Mhm.
like a dead squirrel belt, that would be
Well, that
fine.
slot would then eternally go to swans, but
But you don't. So we'll move on. The whale, it's a 2/6. Start of battle, swallow friend ahead, and release it as a level 1, 2, or 3 after fainting. Trachy, how about you start off?
I don't know why they nerfed the whale. It used to be a tier 3 unit, now it's a tier 4, and as a tier 4, it's just not very good. Like, I honestly do not like it even in swarm builds. Because, like, say you put a sheep in front of it, you're only getting, like, one sheep. If you put a rooster in front of it, well, you're only getting one rooster, and also your, like, scaled up 50-50 rooster or whatever is going to poop out as, like, a just like a 5-3 or whatever, and you manage to scale up the whale too. Um, it the fact that it strips away food and stat buffs makes the whale, I think, very very bad.
Yep.
uh,
Whales like to dive in the sea, and so I'm giving it a D.
Which is such a shame. It used to be like a solid B unit, but then I don't know why they moved it up a tier. It didn't need to be moved up a tier.
I think it might have been an overcorrection to shake up the meta, maybe. That's what I'm just going to say.
What they said is they wanted like the same number of tier 4s in both the base and the DLC, but I don't
That is
agree
a
with that
bad
decision.
reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a bad reason. I don't know, move
Um,
the squirrel up. Nobody buys squirrel anyways.
so we'll move on to the worm. It starts off as a 2/2. Whenever it eats shop food, it gains 1/1, 2/2, 3/3. I'm just gonna say I hate the worm
Yeah.
because it starts off smaller. Sure, it grows better, but it almost always, I think, you need a cat or a rabbit or something else to make it
Not even a
worthwhile.
rabbit. Not even a rabbit, in my opinion.
Not even a rabbit, in
Yeah.
Tracky's opinion. Ivertebrate, what's your opinion on the worm?
I'll fuck around with the worm if I see it early enough. Like if I get that on a level up when we have tier 3 units around or whatever. When I get it, if you get on a level up, that long-term scaling with pairs is pretty reasonable. I'm happy to spend 3 gold to get 3 stats on each end. But again, you have to kind of be in a little bit of a comfortable scenario already, right? If you're kind of in a losing situation, you can't really afford to lose the next round. Like a worm you might have to eat that loss, but like it can easily become a very comparable minion. And then if you end up in a Fuga with a dugong, a seal, look dolphin up, it's not
Dugong.
Pokemon. Listen, I'm about
Dugong
to
is
finish
ice
my
cream.
fire red, and my dugong is slapping.
Yeah, let's go.
You end up with a cat. The worm suddenly can be catapulted into one of your best minions. So it really has a chance to run away with it. So if you have a loss to give, and there's like a pair in the shop, and you have 6 gold, like that worm really you can run with it in a stats game, especially get melon armor on it. So I think it's something to keep your eye on, but like you have to be aware that you're starting with a 1/1, and there is a cost.
I've noted that we've only been saying pair, which worm basically requires pair in order to get. And the same thing I mentioned with squirrel. When you're rolling the food shop, you only roll 2 foods.
hmm So where would we put this?
Pairs
Is this
are
gonna?
not a guaranteed thing, and worms basically need pairs to survive. If it does not get a steady stream of pairs, the worm is going to be terrible.
Garbage. Well, so where would we put the worm? Is it gonna B or C or not
I
D?
put it in D, honestly.
Oh,
Oof. I'm like a low B person because it really can define the transition into a food bill and stuff like that. But I think Tragic's right. The conditions have to be there. So like it's either going to be worthless or strong. Um, so I put it in low B personally.
I think
Personally, I rather wait on the worm and just like skip it and get a seal in tier 5 if I'm going with food build. Because you really need just one unit to invest in. Like, you can't have really both a seal and a worm unless you're constantly buying sushi, which, again, like, your chances of getting sushi every turn are also kind of
I mean,
minuscule.
I tend to spam both sushi and salad in my plays because I'm just like by tier 4 and 5 units, I've got units which I'm like, okay, they've got melon armor on them, they've got stats on them, and they're a swan. Like I'm just gonna make these as big as possible and ride them to the end. Like, and that at that point, like worm really, it starts to look like, hey, this could fit. This could be that fit slot, until cat shows up.
okay. Okay. Well, let's give it. Let's cut the difference. Let's give it a C.
I'm fine with that. At the very least, I put it in one of the highest Ds, but I just don't like food build in general. Maybe that's something I need to play with a bit more. But
Yeah, food build is my
I played
favorite.
a lot with it. I don't like food build very
Well,
much.
it's good that we have PhDs of different varieties.
Speaking of food,
We got the
our
cow.
next
Cow is a 4/6. Buy, you replace the food shop with free milk that gives well, it's just gonna give you +1, +2. It can bonus up if you buy and upgrade your cow multiple levels,
I don't.
but you don't.
Yeah, don't do that. Because I
Unless
really
you
like
somehow
worms.
got
I really
3
like
cows in
cows.
there.
Why? I still
Unless you
do it.
somehow got. If you have 3 cows in the shop, you wouldn't level it up.
Wait, is it on buy or is it on like
It's
interplay?
on.
It's on buy. Yeah.
So you
Okay,
can,
so
if you got 3, you can then get one instance of you having 2 + 2 + 4 milks.
I guess if at the start of the turn I had a flex slot and I rolled 3 cows, I would do that. But that is
I've
low
had it
chance.
happen before,
Well,
so that's
Chachi,
what I'm
you need a
saying.
life.
Well, when you have 1,000 hours in a game,
Listen, I'm actually not even close to 1,000 hours. I'm not even at 100 hours. I was good at the game, is what I was.
Yeah, but you play like on 6 accounts at once, right? So you have to multiply that number.
So
sure.
So the cow, honestly, I put this at a B. I'm happy to see it. Um, it's okay if you're, if you just want to bump something up if you have a slot. It's just like if you're transitioning, it's good.
B for
You will
bovine.
always be transitioning though when you're in tier 5. It's not only until like the later tier 6s when you tend to have your full squad set. You usually have one pivot slot at the point when you can buy cows, in which case you always buy a cow when you have that open spot.
So we say B.
I put an S just because of that. Like when you see a cow, you're buying a cow. Like until you get to the point where your entire team is filled up, like there's no reason not to take the cow.
So we split the difference. Put it on an A.
I wanted to put it in A personally, but I felt like the way this is go is a little lower. I think AS, yeah. I quite like the cow. So yeah,
Well,
we can put an S. We can
let's
put
put
an
it
A
in
either
an
or.
S. Now let's go to the scam. I think this one's a scam. It's the Crocodile. It's an 8/4. Start of battle, deal 8, 16, or 24 damage to the last enemy. iVertebrae, what's your opinion on this?
It's a lobby creature. It's for sniping combo pieces. In the Dark Run Arena, I'm not buying it, but I will end on it for nothing better. Because like it can sometimes just give you a win. But yeah, it's in the dark. I don't rate it very highly.
I actually like it a lot because of the fact, based on how just random people in Arena go, people love their swarm builds. I'm not a huge fan of the swarm build, but plenty of people love their swarm builds for some reason. Crocodile kills off the swarm builds. Also, people love honey badger. Like, they keep it way later than they should, and Crocodile will just basically ruin their whole day.
So this is why I want to play poker with Trashy, because Trashy clearly has a mentality of let's make sure that we're beating the worst builds always.
Well, it's
that's
not
very
beating the worst builds, it's accepting the fact that most people are worse than me at the game.
well, okay. So Trashy has lots of hubris. Again, a reason I want to play poker against him.
So what are we thinking about the Crocodile?
I like it in B, honestly.
Yeah, I would put like in high
It's one of those
C.
pivot units.
I could take a B.
B.
Now this
Like,
is
if you have that leftover slot, you
But like,
take a
hold on,
Crocodile, you sell it off later.
Crocodile does start with C.
oh god.
Well, too bad.
Monkey
Crocodile
starts with an
rhymes with Isle.
Monkey starts with an M. It is a 1-2.
Simian starts with an S.
Oh my god.
I mean, it is an S tier unit.
Yeah,
end of
absolutely.
And wait, are we talking about monkeys?
Yes.
Yeah, Monkey is an S tier
Simian.
unit for sure. Like,
Monkeys S
the nerf
tier.
to it did not manage to nerf it enough because it also got a buff as well.
So at the end of
Yeah,
turn,
it got better, I thought.
It's in a weird place. It's harder to get double monkey, but if you manage to get double monkey, it's insane.
okay.
So, it
I just seem to like I always lose with monkey, but that could be just
Well, yeah,
But
that's
that's the
my-
fault of
you.
the other creatures.
Yeah.
That's the other creatures.
Yeah, that's
fault,
because
not
you
the
buy
monkey's fault.
horses.
well, we'll get there when we get there. Okay, so you see monkey, you buy monkey. Rhino, it's a 5/8 knockout, deal 4/8 12 damage to the first enemy, or the next. It would be the next enemy. It's worded weird, but that's fine. Tracky, what's your Tracky, what's your opinion?
So I know how we said we're only comparing units to units in their own tier generally, like, but in this case, Rhino is just worse than Hippo. It's worse than a unit that's a tier lower than it.
Really?
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
Rhino doesn't get the health boost, and when it's dealing, like, 4 damage isn't going to kill the Swarm build, because, like, they've got turkeys, and they got parrots, so, like, they're giving, like, the stat boost of, like, +6/+6, and all of a sudden you're dealing with an 8/8 sheep instead of a 2/2 sheep, so Rhino is just not going to kill them unless you, like, level it up to level 3. So, I'm not a fan of Rhino. Like, give me a Hippo any day of the week over it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, I was like a believer in the Rhino very briefly when I was macerated by like a high-level Rhino Tiger build on the ladder, because like it was just this machine gun of rocks, and I was sweating and just watching things go down, you know. But like, that was already a run that was going to end at 8 wins anyway. Like, it wasn't really the premier stuff, and I don't know. Those are long odds. So yeah, a Hippo comes sooner, gets more. I just don't rate the Rhino. Also, it's blue, which is like just so weird.
Aren't rhinos kind of bluish? They're grayish blue.
They're not this blue.
Like
This
pit
is like, I
bulls.
would buy a tie that's the color of the Rhino. Like, that's
Listen,
like,
we
it's a
can't
statement.
blame auto pets for this though. They just take all their emojis from like Discord and stuff.
So what do we?
But the Discord, no, that we can. The Discord Rhino is a profile shot of a head of a Rhino that's just gray, like a normal.
Where'd they
color.
get the Rhino from then?
They made it!
Confused.
Well,
no, there's no way they made the Rhino. They made no assets.
We can go into the lore of the Rhino in iVertebrae's show. What was that show called?
Which one?
For the
Alien
lore
Colonies.
of the pets, not the past, but the lore of the pets.
I don't remember, honestly. Lore? I don't think we've done lore yet.
I know.
no.
I was setting you up, but it's
Oh,
okay. That's okay. That's okay. What are we
Super
gonna rate?
Auto
What are we gonna rate the
philosophy.
Rhino?
C.
Yeah, see.
See?
If you don't have a hippo, sure, you can take a rhino, but like, it's not very good.
So moving on, let me move myself down for a bit. What are we thinking about the scorpion? I know we're gonna say lobby versus arena, but let's just go with arena. If you're playing in arena, you buy the scorpion or do you not buy the scorpion?
If you have 3 gold left over, you buy the scorpion. If you have a
Yeah.
pivot unit on your team,
You
the
end on it,
scorpion.
the pivot unit. You can do that cute combo where you put the mushroom on it, but like it's in the dark. It's literally nothing against a swarm build, so you could just be running into a swarm build with 4 units. Like, it's a bit of a gamble, but it can really be extremely impactful. So it's again up to you. Do you feel like you're seeing a lot of big stat minions, and like this is how you want to go, or?
As I said, there are 2 units that allow you to beat a better team: the skunk and the scorpion. The scorpion's not nearly as good as the skunk, but it still allows you to beat a better team.
Okay. So are we saying B?
I put it in A just because if you have that empty spot, you're putting in a scorpion. Like, the best unit to fill up an empty spot is a scorpion.
I
Without
think
it,
we're putting all of our pivot units in the B and C areas, kind of how I think it's going. So I put this as like the highest B.
I think because it's the best pivot unit by far, I think we put it in A. Like, I will buy lots of scorpions in my games. And then I'll sell them off the next turn, and then I'll just buy another one that same turn.
I'll I'll go with Tracky on this. I never buy Scorpion because I feel like it's a unit that you need to know how to play. In a sense.
Sometimes it's not even right to put it in the front. It's odd, but you sometimes don't even put it in the front in some builds.
Yeah. So I'll side with
sometimes
Tracky
you
on
even
this.
scale up the scorpion. Like, nothing's scarier than a 50/50 scorpion with mushroom on it.
That does sound scary. Talking about mushrooms, the seal, it's a 3/8. When you eat shop food, you give 2 random friends +1/+1, 2, 2, 3, 3. I, like the skunk, have never bought a seal. iVertebrate, what are your thoughts on the seal?
I quite like it. It's a nice capstone to a reasonably statted build. Like, if you're kind of in an advantage position with some already highly scaled units, the dugong, the seal, excuse me, is a great way to just start turning your gold into more and more stats by just putting food on, and by scaling the dugong, you scale other things. Giving your sixth or your final slot to it is sort of a concession because you'd rather a cat always, but I think it is a very reasonable card. I kind of would rate it like B, maybe low A, really context dependent.
Okay.
Personally, since I'm not a fan of food build, I'd put it in C, but I would accept B. If I'm going food build, I want the seal. Like, it actually has good stats to start with, unlike the worm, which is 2/2, which means it requires investment. A seal, you can just put 1 pair on it, and it's doing decent work.
Okay.
Yeah, plus a double seal with like salads and sushi, you can really start rolling. It can turn a bad run into a good run. So I think seal has a lot of potential.
All right. Well, we'll put it in the B category. Next is, I don't think we need to talk much about it, but we might as well. It is the turkey. It's a 3/4. When your friend is summoned, you give it a +3/+3, 6, 6, 9, 9. Where are we going? Tracky.
Swan builds, it's an A tier, maybe an S tier. Like, it defines those builds. It makes them good. Like, I don't like those builds, but I can't deny that card is a significant role player in winning runs.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, if you're going swarm build, you have to go turkey. And I'm not the biggest fan of swarm build. I prefer scale build. But I think swarm build is a close second for if builds you want to go. So I think A is acceptable. Like, it's an S unit in the swarm build, but I think swarm build is not S worthy, so I put it in A.
Okay. All right, so no, wait, we got the shark. Missed that one. It's a 4/4. When a friend faints, the shark gains 2/1, 4/2, or 6/3. Whatever feels.
Yeah.
Another
So
swarm card, right? Like,
not a good one though. So you would
nah.
much rather have turkey, and you would much rather have parrot behind the turkey. Shark, its main problem is that um, you don't want your big unit at the back. Um, you want big units at the front, but Shark, by virtue of its ability, cannot go in the front.
Mhm.
Um, so you're just left with usually like this big like shark that's got like I don't know like 40 power and then like 24 toughness, and then it just dies, and then it's a draw or a loss or
It's a
something.
loss. Let's be real. It's a loss. Don't
Yeah,
play
it's
shark.
usually a loss. Um, yeah, I generally put shark. Like it's like not terrible if you somehow can't get a turkey, and you also were like dumb enough to build like a swarm build without a turkey beforehand. But yeah, a shark is like I'd probably put it at C.
See,
I put it in D. I never buy it. Like,
I'm
it's a concession to an already bad situation. It's not good.
I'm gonna have to agree. I think it is a D unit. Um,
I'm fine with that.
I
Like
I,
a
I
shark is just not good. Like it was the last tier 5 unit I ended up getting level 3 on because
it's
it's bad
it
and
takes.
lost me in games.
Well, going with we're moving on to tier 6. It's the
I just
boar.
got it. Hold on. The podcast where we talk about the rhino's art is on Super Auto Pictures, where we just discuss the art.
Super Auto Pictures, coming soon to your favorite podcast channel. So, boar, it's a 8/6 before attack, gain 2/2, 4/4, 6/6. I I'm gonna say this a at out of all the tier 6s that I can think of at the top of my head, I think it's the weakest. And
It is not the weakest because Gorilla exists.
oh,
Yeah.
Gorilla does exist. Um, but it's just not. It's not a fun
Oh,
one.
also Mammoth exists as well. But yes, it is weaker than all the ones except for Gorilla and Mammoth. And the problem with Boar is that it's basically Hippo, right? Because it's used against swarm builds. It gets +2/+2 against swarms. Hippo gets +2/+2 on knockout. This one gets +2/+2 like at start. But the problem is, Hippo, you've had an extra 4 turns worth of stat boost on it, so your
Mm-hmm.
Hippo is generally going to be stronger than a Boar would be. So Boar is again, it's similar to a Rhino. It's just a worse Hippo, even though it is strictly better than Hippo. It's worse.
Once we have these six level units, you have to realize is that in arena, the worst swarm builds are starting disappearing. So more and more you're expecting to see scale build, high stat minions. And these high stat minion exchanges are single knockouts. Bam, bam, bam. They're just going back and forth. If you're lucky, you get a 2-for-1. But like that boar is either killing something or dying. And
Mm-hmm.
+2/+2 is really not the margin these things are being fought on. So lobby card,
And
not
with
arena card.
and with tier 6s, you basically need to treat them as level 1 for most of the time. And maybe level 2, but tier 6s are going to basically be stuck at level 1 unless you're somehow getting to turn 20, which I'm still confused how people can do that.
I guess that's where I kind of fall. I kind of get um suckered into is like there's not a lot of units that gain life during the game. There's maybe 2 or 3. I mean, I guess there's a lot, but like consistently gain life during the game, and a 50/50 boar is going to almost beat everything. But and then live kind of on, but I can see that it's I mean, I've never won with it. So that should be for me, but I want it to work. I want it to happen. So I'm gonna try my darndest.
I want it to be like every time it attacks, like it heals a quarter of its health, or like a quarter, like it gets like a kind of more +2/+2. The attack's not going to matter. It's going to be attack cap. You want to try to like attack cap it anyway if you're playing it, but like it's starting so small. You want like some big games, that it really like says like it could survive again, but it's just not doing that.
That's the hard truth. So are we gonna say this is a C or like a D unit?
D. And let's just put Mammoth and Gorilla in there too while we're at it.
Yeah, and Mammoth and Gorilla are just trash. Gorilla is only beaten out by Squirrel as the worst unit in the game. Like, Gorilla it requires too much scaling to be good. If it came in as like a 25/25, then it would suddenly become good. But yeah, Mammoth also like +2/+2 to your entire team at the tier 6s is just like meaningless. Even if you give it a mushroom, it's like, ooh, my entire team gets +4/+4, but wait, I wasted a team slot on the Mammoth, so I actually lost out on things.
What about a Mammoth level 3 with a mushroom, and behind it is a whale? Is behind a whale that's also level 3.
You're playing 2 D tier units, and you're expecting to get a level 3 Mammoth?
Listen, pill your Mammoth if you have to do something with it. Like that's what it's for. It's a late game pill unit, and don't do that.
That's true.
Just don't. You just put 3 minions in tier D. Just those are the worst of the worst.
Honestly, I want to kind of put Dragon in there just because I hate Dragon so freaking much due to the fact that it was my last level 3 unit, and I might have meddled with it. But I hate Dragon so much.
Wait. Sorry.
But we'll go into it when
distracted by chat. Thank you for the follow. If you are listening and you've gotten to this part and you haven't gone to twitch.tv/the_ita, twitch.tv/the_ita, and you haven't followed there, what are you doing? Go and do that. Also, join our Discord. It's wonderful. And subscribe to this channel so you can get more updates as patches go. So
Super auto plug.
Super auto plug, and this is the super auto PhDs. So we're on Cat. I honestly, I'm gonna be 100% honest. I buy like maybe 3 of the level or tier 6 units. So I'm not. I don't buy Cat.
Yeah, you usually die before you get to tier 6.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we'll just go there. Fine. Yeah. Well, this is a food comp card or animal. What? Where are we at on this?
S. I don't know.
Both S.
It's just like it just can turn. It's like the ultimate card to finish, right? You've been scaling up your minions. You got this flex a lot, which you've been cycling your cows through. You've been cycling, monkeys through, building up these 4 minions, and then you're finally like, I have a cat. Suddenly, my pears are giving 4. My sushi is giving 6 across the board. It just suddenly means I'm playing food. I'm rolling. Everything's getting bigger. It's just a huge way to just push your minions from 40/40s all up to capped 50/50s. It just is a game winner. I think the majority of my 10-win games are involved in Cat in some way.
Personally, I like Cat a lot, but like I don't think it goes up into the S tier. I think it's A rank or A tier, but I don't know. Maybe I just win too early. I'm sorry.
Maybe you just win too early. I would say Cat is S tier. I love buying food. If a Cat lets me beef up one creature, yeah, I'm gonna love it. So I'm gonna give it an S tier.
I think for a lot of the viewers, a lot of these evaluations will come down to how much you like food builds, how much you like swarm builds, right? Because these margins are coming down to preference a lot of the time.
That's true.
Yeah, if you aren't food built, buy a Cat.
What about? For sure. Rectangular astronaut, yes, 100%.
Yeah, all the opinions, the more opinions, the better.
The more
I,
opinions,
I want to know also, rectangular astronaut, what your username means because the image in my head is extremely amusing.
well, there's food builds, there's swarm builds, and then there's buy sell builds, which
And there's scalar builds.
and there's scalar builds. Okay. What is the dragon buy sell build? It's a 6/8 buy tier 1 pet. Give all pets +1/+1 +2/+2 +3/+3. What are your feels on this one?
I hate it. I hate it so much.
Tragedy
I
has a very
despise-
personal issue with it. It has nothing to do with its function. It
Okay.
has to do with the
Okay,
fact
but
that Tragedy has not been able to win with it.
no, I managed to meddle with it. I just hated getting it to level 3. It was just atrocious. Like the fact that it's a tier 6 and it's not a very good tier 6, because the problem with a dragon and leveling it up is that you're stuck in this situation. This is basically just me ranting about meddling a dragon. You're stuck in a situation where for dragon to be good, you need to be buying tier 1 units. But that means you can't be buying dragons because you're buying tier 1 units. It's infuriating.
I mean,
for the most of us plebeians, the issue with the dragon is you need to have this flex slot. So
Mhm.
you already have your flex slot. Now you put your dragon in your flex slot. You have to open a hole to do your cycling. Dragons scale themselves, I believe. So
Mhm.
that's great. That is one of the biggest holes in flex slot creatures, is they usually take away from themselves. So if you have these 4/3 creatures that you really think can carry you, you can take a loss next round. If you're really you're at 8 life, you can really afford to take a loss or two. Dragon will secure you those final couple of wins, because just getting +1/+1 your whole team is just phenomenal. Then end on a scaling unit or something, end on a turtle, whatever you need to do. But you need these conditions where you already have these 3 good units, some life to lose, so you can kind of transition into a dragon build that actually gets going. Because the dragon at its base stats isn't good enough. It's really a lot of stats for very low effort. Like, it's a sushi and a salad combined.
Remember, we're talking about the base, the free-to-play version. We're not talking about the DLC, where Dragon is a lot better due to Llama. So, just focus on that for viewers.
I think here's my thought on Dragon, and I always get suckered into it, and I think in a arena it's worse than good, right? But I don't know. I think it's A tier personally.
I think it's D tier, but
Scratchy is not allowed to vote on this one because of personal pain.
Personal pain.
Okay, if I was being realistic, I would put it in C, but
I think A tier. It's like a lower on the A tier. Like, the conditions have to be there, but it can absolutely make the difference between 8 wins and 10 wins. But it can also sink your run. So it's really about your health margins, really about what your creature is at. So it's going to be, I think there's a wide range the dragon can play. But I would put it at A.
I don't know. I don't usually have 2 flex spots as the thing, because, as I said, usually I like to go skunk, which also tends to lead to parrot. So that's taking up 2 spots already. And then you got a swan in there, then you got your 2 scalers.
The only thing that the only thing that I don't like about the dragon is that it's a risky gamble, since you need to have the level 1s in hanging out. So sometimes you may spend 5 gold on +1/+1, which is scary. Yeah.
Which means you need a swan for your dragon build to work.
We should always have swan.
Yes, you should always have swan, but especially if you don't have swan, do not go dragon, because that means you just do not have the rerolls to make a dragon work.
It's
and
true.
prioritize pigs because pigs keep that engine going. So
Yep.
Yeah.
A tier.
Pigs are the best ones to buy with dragons. I still disagree with this A tier, but I'll accept.
We're allowed to have our differences. Fly, it's a 5/5. Friend faints, summon a 5/5, 10/10, 15/15 zombie fly in its place. Only 3 times total per battle.
I haven't played with it post patch, but it was an S tier unit once upon a time. I don't play Swarm builds, so I'm throwing this entirely at Atrachi. Do people get success with this these days?
It's not really a swarm build unit. The place of fly, in my opinion, is as melon breaker. So basically, unit dies, pops a fly. So like 2 units at the front trade, right? Like you're 50-50 with melon armor. They both kill each other off. Fly then creates a fly, which will pop the next unit's melon armor. Or like I don't know, kill like some like dorky like little snake or kangaroo or something. That's basically the purpose of fly. It's almost a pivot unit in my opinion. It's fine pivot unit. It basically puts 20 stats on the board. Yeah, as Sand on my face said, it is basically a 20-20. But not it's distributed weirdly, so it's not exactly a 20-20.
Yeah, I would not count it as a 20-20. It's almost like a 25 or something. Like
it's not quite a 25. It's like it's 2 10-5s maybe or something. Who knows? The math on fly is weird. But yeah,
tune into Super Auto. What was it? Super Auto. Oh
Purgatory?
no, I forgot it.
It's
Purgatory. Super Auto Purgatory for the real combat effectiveness of a fly.
So would we say? Sorry.
Ooh, I'm hearing flies go bzzz, and we should say B. Is that where we are?
Actually, I put it in C.
All right.
I have to go with Tranky on this. It's a C unit. It used to be, I would say, A or S, but
it was easily S back in the day.
Back in the day.
Remember Fly? Do you guys remember Fly?
Yeah, do you guys remember Turkey Fly, Rooster, Dodo? Oh my god, every team was that, and it was the worst.
Time Rattler.
Oh my god. I can't with you.
Okay, let's go on to Leopard.
Leopold is a 10-2 start a battle, deal 50% attack damage to 1, 3, or it's 1, 2, or 3 random enemies. I don't like snipe builds, so I don't buy this. But
it's a snipe build that basically can kill off 3 members of the enemy team.
Yeah, it's reasonable. It's put some stats on it, put a tiger behind it even. Like it can get there. It can get there. That's all I can really say.
If you're going long, if you're not winning right away, like on turn 11 or 12 or something, if you're going longer, Leopard is one of the best ways you can win, because a leveled up Leopard will just destroy an enemy team. Like, it will absolutely annihilate them, especially, as I've already said, if you have a tiger behind it.
If you play poker, this is basically, or Texas Hold'em, this is playing while you're the short stack with like a low pocket, but it's suited. There's a chance to beat a lot of really good hands that get some chips off players. That's what you're going. You're a little behind, but it's got some play.
I mean, I follow it, but what would we call this? What tier is it? Are we B in it?
I actually like it an A.
Yeah, I would give it an A. I think it's like it's not something you play while you're ahead, but it's a great way to close out a kind of shaky run. Yeah.
Well,
we're at this stage of the game. We're looking at, can we get all the way, and can we get to those 10 wins? And this is absolutely a card that can get there. Yeah.
Nice. So we got 2 more. We got the snake. I love the snake. It's a 6/6 friend ahead attacks deal 5, 10, 15 damage to a random enemy.
Is that a snake? Oh my god, I thought that was a beak and it was some sort of weird fucking like duck
Wait,
creature.
did you just never read what the unit is?
I mean,
Yeah, dude,
I could.
it's like no, at tier 6, I just play symbolically. Like I thought it was a weird fucking duck creature.
Oh my god. I can
Like, it was a really
see
dirty
that
duck.
in a weird way, but I don't. If I had needed glasses, I can see that.
Once again, the custom for Super Auto Pets asset, not from Discord, creature sucks ass. Okay, because the Discord snake looks like a snake. This weird fucking pool floaty thing.
So, yeah. What are your opinions
Fuck
on
me,
this?
it's a snake.
While iVertebrae is gasping for air because his mind has been erased. Tracky, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, it's a great unit to have behind a scaled up unit. So, like, you got a 50-50 with melon armor, you put a snake behind it, that snake's going to likely be killing off some good stuff on your opponent's team, especially effective against swarm builds. Like, if you're just like, I need a unit to deal with swarm builds because otherwise my team loses the swarm builds, you put a snake there and it will kill them off. The main issue with snake is if your opponent is... It's risky. Your opponent could be playing a mushroom scorpion, and suddenly your 50-50 with melon armor is dead, and the snake is just like, oh no, I'm out in the open with nothing to do. I'm dead.
But I mean, you could always have the worst case scenario every time, kind of thing.
Yeah, so it
But
kind of
it's
comes down
risky.
to
It also...
how you play.
Yeah, it also is vulnerable to snipe builds, is another issue. So a leopard or a leveled up dolphin.
So you can tell I'm not super familiar with it. So I don't rate it super highly because I don't play with it. But yeah, I think when you're at this stage of the game, you're expecting all these big scale builds, and you'll really want something from it. But you're also gonna hit those. There's just a lot of risk involved because since we're looking for wins, right now we're rating losing the game versus winning the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are more preferable options, because there's a lot on the line.
I think snake is fine. I'm not sure where I would put it. It's either like lowest A or it's B, honestly. Like, again, I tend to use a lot of scale builds. So if you're not in a scale build, do not play snake. But if you're in a scale build, snake is an acceptable option, I think.
I'm with Rectangular Astronaut in chat. It's a C. I also think that a C kind of looks like a snake, unlike the picture in the game.
It's
so...
also snake.
C.
Okay. I'll put my ring in for the B, so you're the tiebreaker. B or C?
I'm gonna say C, because the thing about snake is that I think
coil starts with a C.
A coil, and I think Rectangular Astronaut
snake is actually an S tier because that's the sound they make.
Is right. It relies on a big pet. It can get sniped. It's not good against. It's good, but it's not. It's just not. You don't want to gamble on it. It's not. It's a lobby pet, not a arena pet. So coil C, and that brings us down to our last animal, and that's the tiger.
Oh, wait, what about the sloth?
The sloth. I think sloth.
What the fuck is a sloth?
Sloth is a D unit, and I don't care what anyone
sloth
thinks.
Is instant S because you take the sloth anytime, and also all your opponents will instant concede to you if you're in a lobby because they want the sloth to be level 3 as well.
Oh my god, I'm the only one who doesn't drink the sloth Kool-Aid. But
I don't drink the sloth Kool-Aid. I'm fucking out for blood.
yeah,
I'm gonna
I
win.
have not seen a single sloth in my entire time playing the game.
I've
played for a while.
I
So
I've never seen the sloth either. But
I
yeah,
don't want to see a sloth.
a tiger, it's a 4/3. Friend ahead repeats their ability in battle if they're level 1, 2, or 3. I like the tiger.
I like
So-
the tiger. Tigers stalk their prey straight into S tier.
I disagree with S tier because of the inclusion of Parrot. Parrot is basically better than Tiger, except in a few animal cases. The cases being a leopard and a snake and
Nah, because it copies the ability.
A
Parrots copy the ability in
rooster.
front, right?
yeah.
That's what they
So
do?
it's basically the
So-
same as Tiger, except
No, because
on
tiger can
leopard,
get behind a
rooster.
hippo. Tiger can get behind a hippo. Tiger can
Mhm.
get behind a leopard, right? Like it can get behind
Yeah.
things and get a lot more action.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tiger has
but-
broad playability compared to the parrot.
Yes, I'll still be putting Tiger up highly. I'm just saying that I think it's not as good because you can have a parrot for a lot of the stuff you used to have with Tiger. Tiger is still good on like leopard, hippo, rooster. Well, maybe not rooster.
Would you
it's
sell a
iffy.
parrot to replace it with a tiger? Like,
I would not, because Parrot is generally leveled up by that point. Tiger is basically you're going to be very hard to level it up because of the fact it's a tier 6 unit. That's why Parrot's so good, because it's a tier 4 unit that acts as a tiger in a lot of cases. So I think if we're putting Parrot in A tier, I think Tiger goes in A tier as well. I like the Tiger a lot, but I think it doesn't go into S tier. Especially since it can be sniped, and then, like, you're just sad.
yeah, I think that argument falls to most utility creatures. I think it's S tier. I think the ceiling is just so high on Tiger that it can really pull a build to a close into a win.
I don't know. In
But
that
yeah,
case, we
it's
need
clearly
to put Parrot
good,
in
The
S
however-
tier.
the ITA says tiger is an S tier because
Get some!
We need to move
because
Parrot up, then. We need to move Parrot
No,
up. In that case. Yes,
we'll have-
Parrot is
here's the thing
so
about
much better
tiger.
than
Here's
Tiger.
here's the thing about tiger. You'll go, wait, how did I lose? And it was because of it was a sneaky tiger doing sneaky tiger things, and you don't even know until the round is over, and you're trying to buy new pets. The tiger is it's a sniper, because it just goes in and it destroys you, and you don't even know about it. You have to rewatch to know. I think
still
that it's
think then we put it in the Parrot in S tier if we're putting the Tiger in S tier. Parrot's better than Tiger because it gets leveled up.
Actually has
Especially because
another-
Tiger. So
I
Tiger,
Actually-
one of the issues with it is that it's also been nerfed, so it only activates the tier 1 ability if it's at level 1, or the level 1 ability of the unit in front if it's level 1.
That's
so
fine with
something
me.
like a Hippo
Fine
will
by
just
me.
be giving +2/+2.
that's fun.
It had to
by
be
me.
nerfed. That means it's better, all right? It had to be nerfed, and it's comparable. That means it's better. Trashy has another solo podcast called Super Auto Parrots, where he talks about all the variations that you can play with on that parrot. So stay tuned. The schedule is coming out for that one.
And
people are underestimating the Parrot in that case, then.
And
I admit it. I have to play with it more, okay?
Yeah.
I think
So put it at the S tier.
I
The
think,
person who's played with it most.
I think that we can argue all night about this, and we can revisit it we can revisit it when a new patch comes out. But we'll just say this is a good way to kind of view the different levels in Super Auto Pets. But this is already 2 hours and 40 minutes, so
Any like final thoughts on
No.
the thing? Anything you
No.
wanna change? Okay.
I think if we start, we won't be able to finish.
Like anything glaring, I mean, like, because now we see how the tiers are, if we want to make them more even or anything.
I think we could do that in the next patch iteration. But I
Yeah,
think
we'll have a follow-up podcast called Super Auto Postscript where we'll go through some follow-up ideas.
And I think this is like a really great start. But if you haven't hit the subscribe button, go ahead and do so right now. Once again, I am _ida, twitch.tv/the_ida, and these are my Super Auto PhDs, Tracky and iVertebrate.
And thanks to our Super Auto pals in the chat, DeCravs, MTG, Rectangular Astronaut, Sand on My Face for participating in discussion. Discussion. What? Hello.
And here comes
I am
Archer
fucking
Master.
cried. Jesus Christ. I didn't realize Trashy talked so much.
Well,